Hmm? Ah! Oh. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/GOM. There's literally around 200,000 titles to choose from for any platform you want, so give it a try. It's awesome.
I did what I did for the good of the realm.
The realm? Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
But what do we have left once we abandon the lie? Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
Well met, archers and spearwives, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, the Court Joker.
And I am Lady Kristen of House McWigglebergino, Khaleesi of the Pavement, mother of half marathons.
Yeah! It's awesome. That's pretty badass, seriously. That's awesome. And this is Game of Microphones, episode 68.
On this episode of our series, Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones, Season 3, Episode 6, The Climb.
And just for anybody who's not already aware, this is a spoiler-filled podcast from the perspective of someone who is current on the show. At this point, that means you've seen all the way through Season 7, and you're waiting through the long night for the next season like we are. So, this is your spoiler warning.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You still have time to fall from a cliff.
Literally fall from a cliff.
Literally fall from the wall. All right. This is a killer episode. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. What's funny is that I was looking at a bunch of notes about this episode from when it came out, and apparently the way ratings used to work, or I don't know if they still work now. I know nothing about ratings and don't care.
Jon Snow.
But what I thought was interesting was that the next episode, The Bear and the Maiden Fair, had really low ratings.
What?
And they said the reason
way.
why that is because less people would watch the show if they didn't like the previous week very much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so because we had, and Now His Watch Has Ended and Kissed by Fire, which were two very high energy episodes, this one was more of an understated episode that was more book relevant and was setting up for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. And as a result, viewers were turned off to the fact that it was quote unquote slower. But I mean, I was watching it, Dave and I were watching it the other night, and we both looked at each other 20 minutes in, maybe even less than that. We're like, this is a jam-packed episode.
So much.
So it's just funny what the casual fan is and what the serious fan is, and really how you take in these episodes week by week.
Yeah, the different ways that people can react to what they call slow, we call jam-packed. It's hilarious.
Exactly.
There's so much that happens in this episode.
One man's trash is another person's jam-packed episode.
Yeah, and this is a Chessie episode, so I bet you liked it too, with all the marriage stuff going on and the posturing between Olenna and Tywin and everything.
Lots of politics going on. Probably one of the best Littlefinger Varys scenes in the entire series.
Not only that, I'd say that's one of the best scenes in the entire series.
Anytime you get these two together, I mean, they're both just, powerhouses of actors with Aidan Gillian and Conleth Hill.
Yeah.
And they just play off of each other so well. I mean, whenever I see them together, I'm like, yay, something good is going to happen.
Yeah. How about, I could see like a spin-off prequel to Game of Thrones that's the Spider and the Mockingbird. It'd just be like the chronicles of their battling each other and undermining each other. That'd be so cool.
I would love that.
Yeah, it'd be really boring, but it would be awesome. Actually,
I don't know that it would be
wouldn't
boring.
be boring. Yeah, because their actions would result in all this crazy conflict and like battles and it would be cool. I take it back. It wouldn't be boring at all. You're right.
It would be riveting, edge of your seat television.
Yes.
Literally edge of your seat.
Literally.
This is our word of the day, folks. I'm going to see how many times I can say this today.
Literally Chris Traeger. Oh man, so you want to start off?
Sure. I'm going to start off actually with the opening scene of the episode.
Oh, right.
I found myself pressing pause a lot and just stopping to write down a lot of notes.
Oh, that's me every week.
But I had this huge epiphany about Sam and Gilly. Oh,
cool.
So Sam and Gilly are by the campfire and they're just, talking about kind of what the wall is like, and they're just getting to know each other, right?
Yeah,
you don't know how to
scene.
make a fire. Oh, well, I never had to make a fire. I had servants and it doesn't snow. So he says, look at this thing I found. And she's like, what is it, right?
What does
and they're
it
like,
do?
I don't know, but it's cool. Well, what's interesting is that we know what dragon glass is now, right?
Right, yeah.
So stay with me on this because I have a couple points to make about this.
Sure.
So the dragon glass, both of these characters come from two very different parts of Westeros. One is above and one is below the wall. One is highborn and one is incest-born. One is a wildling and one is not a wildling, right? And the last time the Night King came was how long? Like thousands of years?
Yeah. Last time.
That was the last time anybody knew that dragon glass would be an effective tool against the army of the dead and against White Walkers, right? So it's been such a long time that these two people who one is very educated and the other one, is from Craster's Keep, who knows about this, the White Walkers and knows about the baby sacrifices and knows about all this stuff. Nobody knows what this dragon glass does. And what's cool is that they kind of happen upon it in a casual part of the conversation, like, "Ooh, look how shiny this is," right? And you don't really know, it doesn't really come back up. Well, it kind of comes back up because of Sam the Slayer, right? Which I think happens in the next episode or the episode after that.
Yeah. It must be next episode.
The White Walker.
I thought it was going to be this episode, so I preemptively titled my number 5 Sam the Slayer.
I did too. I was like, "Ooh, I'm really excited," and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So anyways, but that discovering the dragon glass and the purpose for the dragon glass ended up being a very pivotal element of the show. Do you see where I'm going with this yet?
No, but I agree though.
Last season, the same thing happened with Sam and Gilly. They were just talking, family talk. He's home from work. She's tending to the baby, cooking dinner. He's studying.
Last season is in season 7. Okay, I thought you meant season 2.
Season 7. No, I'm sorry. In season 7, they're just, having a little family night after work, and he's studying, and she's trying to read the books, and she stumbles over the fact that Rhaegar had an annulment.
Right.
And Rhaegar had a secret marriage to Lyanna. It was a total innocent sentence that, the whole world picked up on, but they didn't pick up on it. And it wasn't until the very end of the season that Sam put it together that this is one of the most pivotal elements of the show again. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that these two people that were put together have now discovered two of probably, I'd say, two of the most important discoveries of the entire series.
Well, that's a great point.
So I just was struck by how cool that was. So
wisdom from the mouths of babes.
Yeah,
Gilly's like a prophet.
Yeah,
because she said, "What is it? What does it do?" And any regular normal person's like, "It's a fucking dagger. It cuts. It stabs." But it gave us a hint that there is something more that it actually does. It has this crazy reaction with the White Walkers.
Right. So I thought that was just a cool little epiphany that I made, that these two, who a lot of people are like, what is the point of Sam and Gilly? Well, this is the point of Sam and Gilly.
Yeah, like if they hadn't just gone through this and killed that guy, that White Walker, with this dragonglass dagger at this moment in this or next episode, I think the whole trajectory of everything would be changed. Jon wouldn't know about dragonglass and its significance. He wouldn't have gone to Dragonstone for it. Never would have linked up with Daenerys. So yeah, like you're saying, this is a pivotal moment for everything, for the fight, the Great War, you could say.
For what we're waiting for.
Yeah. Everything depended on it. The combination of ice and fire probably wouldn't have happened, at least not like this, not as easily, without the shared interest of dragonglass and that whole thing.
Right.
So that's hardcore.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyways, that was my number 5. Just I just had this big epiphany about Sam and Gilly and just how important they are to the story and kind of their accidental discovery.
Yeah.
That was hard to say.
They're totally the odd couple of Westeros too. The way you described it: one highborn, one incest-born. One from south of the wall, one from north of the wall.
Right.
It's fucking great. So funny. So my number 5 was fun new pairings, and Sam and Gilly were first because this is the first time where they're really a pair. Running off together after the end of last episode and everything.
Yeah, I have a question about that. I don't mean to stomp on you.
No, not at all.
Do you think Gilly considers them married at this point, since he technically stole, since Sam technically stole
Yeah,
Gilly?
it's possible. She knows her customs. He may not be familiar with them, but she may just assume that he is aware of her customs and assume that he understood the significance of what happened. So it's definitely plausible that she could believe that they're married. That's wild. So I just thought this was a really cool scene with the two of them. Funny little conversations that they're having where they're, like you said, they're getting to know each other and relating, and he's talking about the wall and how huge it is. It's so big you can't even see the top sometimes. It's hidden in the clouds. You're playing with me. I'm not. It's 700 feet high, all made of ice. It's fucking
Sunny
great.
days, it looks like it's weeping.
Weeping.
I loved that.
Yeah, such a good line.
He's good with the words.
Yeah, you can tell he's a reader. Weeping is a good word for sure.
He should write a book called A Song of Ice.
He may. He just may. So that was cool, and he goes on to describe the scenario where they keep a fire burning all the time and everything, and it's just a cool scene. And then he sings to her, and you could tell that she's just when he's singing,
Yes. They became a family.
Yeah, that solidified it, So the next fun new pairing is Meera and Osha. And we had we did see them together briefly before, but this is the time where they really get to interact. And it starts off with them squabbling about skinning rabbits, and it's so fucking funny. They're just at each other's throats. They are they do not like each other. I don't know why. Maybe just because they're both strong women and they're clashing over who would be the lead strong woman. What do you think? What's your take on that? Why are they so? Where's the animosity coming from here? As a woman,
I think Osha just hates her just because Meera almost killed her.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's
got the better of
simple.
her, and it embarrasses her, and so now she's trying to overcompensate.
Maybe. I mean, she prides herself on being, really tough, and she has to protect these boys. And if somebody almost took her out,
yeah, that was a big moment.
She's like, "Sorry,
don't move, or I'll stab you. I'm unarmed." She's like, "Oh, actually, my sister carries a blade."
But I think you have something there, as far as who would be the strong.
It's probably
when you put
multifaceted.
Any two strong personalities together, they're either going to work really well together, or they're going to just clash.
Right. Definitely.
And especially if there's insecurity over who's stronger or who's a leader,
Mm-hmm.
And Meera probably, I had this thought, Meera probably knows that it's going to eventually be her job to bring Bran where he needs to go, because Jojen has probably already had that vision.
Ooh.
So she could just see Osha as an obstacle.
Yeah, that's true. And Osha, she's like, I gotta protect these kids. Anybody else is an outside threat. So yeah, it makes sense that that they both are skeptical and wary of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, they're going on, and there's a lot of funny little lines where Bran gets them to be nice, and Osha's giving her shit about skinning the rabbit wrong and everything, and finally, like, Bran gets him to calm down, and Meera admits, your way of skinning a rabbit is quicker than mine. She's like,
She's
fucking
like,
told
I
you.
know, bitch.
So funny, and then she sort of tries to do it too, right? She says, "You're a good little hunter." She admits it, compliments her. They've both complimented each other, and they both have to be snarky about it. Thank you. See, not so hard, is it? Thank you.
Thank you. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You see? And that's like when I talk to my 4-year-old. You see?
Right.
That wasn't hard.
So yeah, it's so funny. And then it's revealed that Jojen has seen Jon Snow in his vision, but he's on the wrong side of the wall.
That's one of my my thingamajigs.
Oh, cool. One of your notes?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, so that was kind of an important moment. We know that he's on the wrong side of the wall, surrounded by enemies, and we are scared. But he's, on the right side of the wall, or at least on the line at the end of the episode. On the wall. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my number 5. How about your numero 4?
Wait, that's it? That's all for new pairings?
Yeah, I was in a rush. What else you got?
Tywin and Olenna was another one.
Oh, I have that as another point, their whole conversation. So.
Oh yes, that's one of mine as well. I like running down the list though.
Oh yeah. We can that's if you got any other pairings, we can totally do that. Let's see. We got, like you said, Tywin and Olenna. Anybody else?
We have Theon and Ramsay.
Oh.
If you want to call them a pairing. I don't.
Remember how we played Business Time a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
This week it's torture. It's
torture time. Ooh, it's torture time.
So
no, yeah, that's probably it.
All right. Oh, we did see new pairing of Arya and Melisandre come together very briefly.
What a great scene that was.
You can tell there's going to be, that it's more significant than meets the eye based on their reactions to each other. It's funny. Arya's like, I don't like her. And Angai's like, that's because you're a lady. She's like, I don't get it. What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, because you know what? I wrote down that Arya doesn't like Melisandre because she doesn't like her. There's no other reason but her gut. And she trusts her gut. And she's like, no, I don't like her. Whether she's a man or a woman has there's no difference here.
The way she carries herself, she can tell there's like something off,
Right.
She's
and
a sneaker. Yeah, she's right. And Jon ends up expelling her from the north too. So like Arya and Jon are very much alike in a number of ways. And this is another example.
That's another reunion I cannot wait to see is Melisandre with either Arya or Gendry or both.
Oh man, yeah. I'm really intrigued to see the Melisandre and Arya thing. Oh man, we know that Melisandre has to die in this land, so maybe Arya will kill her. Think so? Oh man.
She's on her list.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
Melisandre's on her list?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I totally forgot that.
She was for a while. I don't know if she took her off, but I know that I know that she's on her list.
Wow, cool, good to know. Yeah, so that'd be I could see that happening
for this reason.
Yeah. So what's your number 4?
Well, I'll just talk about it now since we already kind of touched on it. Was Jojen and his vision.
Awesome.
So he says that Jon Snow is surrounded by enemies on the wrong side of the wall. Now, here's the deal. He didn't say where Jon was. He didn't say who Jon was with. He didn't say what part of Jon's life his vision was.
He didn't say what side of the wall is the right side of the wall.
Correct. He says he's on the wrong side of the wall. So does that
depends
mean
on your perspective.
that he had to go north to bring everybody south? Does that mean that his enemies are really, it could even foreshadow his death. He's on the wrong side of the wall and he's being killed by his own brothers of the Night Watch, right?
Oh man, that's a crazy way of looking at it.
Or he's on the wrong side of the wall when he's at Hardhome and he's surrounded by the army of the dead, and he's trying to get everybody out. Those are all enemies that he's surrounded by. So we don't. It could be a battle of the bastards. He could be south of the wall. Like, we don't know which side is the wrong side of the wall. Who his enemies are.
It's certainly
nothing about that.
It's cryptic, but I think at the surface, he's talking about him being with the wildlings just north of the wall. Because if we're considering it concurrent, relatively time wise, he's probably seeing Jon north of the wall with surrounded by wildlings, which he would assume would be enemies of the Night's Watch. You know what I mean? So I think that at the surface, I think that's what he's talking about. But there could be at least that's what the viewer is supposed to think, considering that's what we just saw. Like, to us, to the viewer, north of the wall is the wrong side of the wall, especially for Night's Watchmen. To the viewer, wildlings.
Yeah,
are
but
the enemy.
not for Jon Snow. Not
Right.
if his whole mission was to unite the wildlings with the people of Westeros.
Jojen may not have that context, though. So just from Jojen's perspective, he could be like seeing it from the way that the viewer would look at it if we just saw Jon without context, north of the wall, surrounded by wildlings, getting ready to climb. But yeah, there's definitely a number of ways it could be interpreted.
Yeah, but Ygritte is not his enemy. Tormund is not his enemy.
Jojen doesn't know that.
I think he does.
Think so?
He knows he's charged to take Bran to be the three-eyed raven. He knows that. He knows exactly where he's supposed to go. He knows who Bran is, and he probably saw that in a vision in the future.
So Jojen could have seen a vision of the future with Jon working together with
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's totally possible. Absolutely.
I don't know. I just thought that it was kind of an obscure vision to
Let
tell
us
Bran,
sorry.
No, that's okay. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say to the audience, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the way you guys interpret this scene.
How did you interpret Jojen's vision?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my number 4, though. I told you, I have very little ones this week.
Cool. My number 4 is also one of my favorite moments of the series. I don't know why, I just love it. It's Thoros, the failed Red Priest.
Oh, he had such a good episode this week. I totally agree. I was banging on my desk, if anybody heard that.
Yeah, I did hear that. That's awesome. Yeah, I love Thoros, especially like season 3 Thoros. It's really fucking cool. So it starts off with Arya, who's practicing her bowmanship or bowwomanship with Anguy. And it's a callback to season 1, episode 1, I believe, where they're at Winterfell and Bran is trying to shoot and she like outshoots Bran, right? Mm-hmm. So he's telling her that she's not as good as she thinks she is and all this stuff. And you won't be fighting straw men, little lady, as she's confidently hitting targets that aren't moving, which is great. Gives her tips and helps her improve her skills. And like, it's so funny. At every step of the journey, Arya is learning combat tips.
Right.
You know, whether
from
it's
so many different walks of life.
Yeah, from everybody. It's great. Jon gives her a sword. Syrio teaches her how to use it. She's, shooting bows at the beginning too. And then Anguy teaching her archery. She definitely learned some stuff from Jaqen.
The Hound gives her some real lessons. Lots
of stuff from the Hound.
The Waif.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Her whole story arc is just all becoming the ultimate warrior, basically. So that's fucking cool. So I thought it was interesting too. Never hold, but I have to aim. Never aim. Never aim. Your eye knows where the arrow wants to go. Where it wants the arrow to go. Trust your eye. So I thought that was cool. And trust your eye. That could also foreshadow Arya trusting, her interpretation of Melisandre. She sees her and has a bad feeling. So it could be saying, trust your feelings, trust your gut. So it's cool.
You know them to be true. Yeah.
And then that's when Melisandre arrives. We come as friends. And someone has a great line, begging your pardon, milady, but we'll be the judge of that. I thought that was a good line. And then she sees Thoros, Valor Morgulis, Valor Doharis. And we learn as they speak, what language is that? Is it Valyrian?
High Valyrian.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It sounds like
it. It's the first time that High Valyrian had been used in the show. Up until then, it was only Low Valyrian.
Oh, except for like Daenerys' couple like little lines when she
was in Low
murders,
Valyrian.
Oh, really? She wasn't even speaking High Valyrian at that point?
She was speaking the commoners' Valyrian.
Oh, interesting. That's funny. Cool. Good to know. So, yeah, we learn as they're speaking High Valyrian, and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on here? No, Arya and Anguy, everybody's looking around like, this is weird. And we learn that Thoros had a mission from the High Priestess to turn King Robert from the Light of the Seven to the Lord of Light, which is pretty hardcore.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so he was on a secret mission. We know they were drinking buddies, so like he had every opportunity to try, but Robert is not so easily convinced of things. Even his own small council couldn't keep him in line. Right, so no chance from a priest from some fucking religion that Robert doesn't believe. He goes, fuck off, Thoros, give me another beer,
Yeah.
Shut up with the Lord of Light.
I loved it when Thoros just looks at Melisandre. He's like, I failed.
Yeah, he's just
like, that's it. He's like, yeah, I failed. Clearly I failed. Look where I am.
So great. He's dead. I failed. And he kind of like smirks when he says it too a little. But he goes on and, he says, they do clarify, my friends here don't speak High Valyrian. I totally spaced on that. I was probably taking notes.
I loved that.
I see it now in my stuff here. So he's like, why are you here, my lady? And, forgive my manners. I don't see many ladies these days. But I thought it was cool. He gets her to speak English so everybody can understand. Because it's not cool when you're speaking another language in front of people and people are like, what the fuck, And then, so they go into the cave. And Melisandre is looking over Beric Dondarrion, examining his eye, examining his chest, looking at all his different wounds, and she is fucking blown away. And she's like, what the fuck? How many times has the Lord brought him back? Thoros is like 6. And she is fucking shocked. And she's like, this shouldn't be possible. And I've never seen this happen. And you, out of everybody, like you. And it's like, he goes down to this monologue, which is just great. How he's always been a terrible priest. He drank too much. He fucked all the whores. It's a terrible thing to say. But by the time he came to Westeros, he didn't even believe in the Lord of Light. He decided that all the gods were stories that the children, people told children to make them behave, essentially. So he wore the robes, recited the prayers, but it was just for show, a spectacle for the locals, until the mountain drove a lance through his best friend's heart. Right. And
right.
What a heartbreaking moment and just crazy transition of where you're absolutely lost and have no faith, and then you as a Hail Mary, they say there's no atheists in foxholes. You ever hear that?
Yep.
Yeah. So, in a Hail Mary, when all is lost, he calls to his God, his Lord of Light, and is astonished when he responds. Like, what the fuck? And he's what does he say? I knelt beside his cold body and said the old words, not because I believed in them, but because he was my friend.
Because he was my friend.
Yeah, such a powerful
My friend
moment.
was dead.
He was dead. They were the only words I knew. For the first time in my life, the Lord replied. Beric's eyes opened, and I knew the truth. Our God is the one true God, and all men must serve him. And I was just like, damn, this is fucking nuts.
Yeah, Thoros is a great character.
Yeah, he's a really cool character, and it foreshadows, obviously, as we know, Melisandre's crisis of faith that she experiences immediately prior to attempting to revive Jon Snow. So they both have lost faith, essentially, and do a Hail Mary to try to save somebody that they think is worth it, And they're both responded to in kind by the Lord of Light. Where it seems like some time passed before Jon was revived. So I don't know if it was the Lord of Light or if it was Melisandre or what. I mean, it could have been, but we don't know. It was left ambiguous, seemingly, to me. So she goes back over to Beric, and she's like, "You've been to the other side." And he's like, "The other side? There is no other side. I've been to the darkness, my lady." And that is fucking creepy, one. But it's also pretty much the same thing that Jon Snow says when she revives him. And she's like, "What did you see? What was there? What was the other side like?" And he's like, "Nothing. Just darkness," right?
Yeah, but I think that that's just because they weren't done. You can't cross over if you're not done. If the Lord of Light is not done with you in this universe, then why would you go to the other side? You'd be in a holding pattern.
That's entirely possible too. I hadn't considered that. Like in purgatory or some shit. Just in darkness.
Or just waiting for somebody to just show up and say the words.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting thought. So Melisandre's probably frightened by that revelation by Beric, because I don't know if she had considered the option that you just laid out, but she was probably like, oh, what the fuck? Everything that she thought may have just been like overturned slightly in her head. Right. So Thoros says to Melisandre, he says, he sent you to us for a reason, and she replies, you have someone he needs. And then it cuts to Gendry, and we do that whole thing over there, where he gets snatched up, and I liked how Arya stuck up for him. He wants to join, he wants to be one of you. Stop them, tell them to stop. Arya is going to step up for what she thinks is right, no matter what. I like that.
I just can't wait for Arya to see Jon Snow coming back with Beric Dondarrion and all these people. It's good that Thoros is dead, to tell you the truth, because if Thoros and Melisandre were to show up at Winterfell in season 8, it'd be a problem for Arya. It would be a big problem.
Yeah, quite possibly. Oh man, that's funny. She's gonna be like, John, and I know you, and I know you, and I know you. The Hound, fucking.
She's like, wow, I hate all of you. Yeah, the Hound, Beric Dondarrion. I mean, he's coming back with everybody that's wronged her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wronged but also righted. Like the Hound kind of kidnapped her, sort of, but he was trying to save her the same way that he wanted to save Sansa. It would have benefited him, but it was mutually beneficial as well.
Right. Well, the Hound isn't on her list anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. And same with the Lord of Light guys, with the Brotherhood Without Banners. They did try to deliver her to relatives and whatnot. That was the goal, to bring her to safety, but it was also for their own benefit as well. So it was mutually beneficial in both ways. I feel like she may be open to forgiving all those people and working together with them for the greater cause. I would personally probably
for her brother more than the greater good.
Yeah, that too as well. And I feel like
her cousin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like, her cousin? What the fuck? To Aegon. So yeah, she sees Melisandre approaching as Gendry is being taken away or about to, and she's like, I don't like that woman. And is that one of your points? Should we talk about that later, or should we just talk about it now, since it's sort of connected to the Thoros thing?
No, yeah, we could talk about that. That's not my top 5.
Okay, cool. So yeah, as Gendry's about to be taken away, Arya sees Melisandre, and she's like, I don't like her. And then when Melisandre finally arrives and sees Arya, Arya says to Melisandre, you're a witch! You're going to hurt him! And she is taken aback as she sees Arya, and she goes over, and does she physically grab her face and look her in the eye? Yeah, and she's like, I see a darkness in you. And in that darkness, eyes staring back at me. Brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes. Eyes you'll shut forever. We'll meet again. It's so fucking creepy, man. So that's going to be cool to see them meeting again.
It was creepy at the time, but I thought it was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Super cool.
The second, third, fourth, fifth time. That's just so cool.
Cool. Absolutely.
Because now you think, okay, so now I've seen all of season 7 as I'm doing this rewatch, and I know that Melisandre has to die in this foreign land of Westeros. Mm-hmm. Melisandre seems visibly shaken by Arya's presence.
Yeah.
She knows that she's going to be a faceless man.
Oh my God! Do you think she knows that Arya is going to kill her at that moment?
I think so.
That's why she's so shaken up. That's why it's so significant.
I think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, that's kind of where my brain went when I was watching
That's totally possible, because she has seen tons of visions of the future. She knows she's going to die in Westeros. She may recognize Arya from a vision and be like, oh my God, it's her. Oh my God, it's her. Holy fuck. That's crazy. That's cool. That pretty much
jam-packed episode, not boring, people.
So much going on here. Yeah, so that wraps up my number 4 as the failed Thoros Red Priest, and this stuff in that scene in general.
So, okay, I have a question about Thoros real quick.
Yeah.
This was the first time, and people can punch me all they want. But this was the first time I noticed that Thoros
Imp-slap!
wears red.
That what?
That Thoros wears red.
Oh.
He's always been super dirty or in the dark.
Yeah, it's like he wears his red, but it's all like tattered and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like a really dark color, but he's wearing red.
Interesting.
So he's, he's donned on his red priest,
that must be how
garb.
Melisandre recognized him.
Well, they probably know each other too. Who knows how old Thoros really is?
Oh, yeah. Oh, at this point, yeah, that makes sense that he's wearing red because his faith is totally renewed, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. Good catch there.
I just thought it was fun.
What's your number 3?
That was a great number 4.
Oh, thanks. It's just a great
my
scene.
number
you know?
3. I have like all of these like possibles. Well, we could talk about the title for a second. I want to talk about Varys and Littlefinger like later.
Okay.
But the episode of the climb kind of goes into Littlefinger a little bit. So I'll try not to touch on it too much because I'm sure that we both have a lot to say about that last scene anyways.
Sure.
But oh my gosh, my phone. So the climb, I love the fact that it's both the physical, actual, literal climb up the wall, which the casual viewer will see as, oh, okay, yeah, the climb, the one where they climb the wall. And then there's the ladder climb, right?
Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is.
Gosh, what a great speech that is.
Right.
But if you take it and you kind of pull back a little bit from even what Littlefinger is saying, you see that everybody is trying to climb up this ladder. Everybody's trying to climb through the chaos. You've got Olenna and Tywin working overtime to climb through the chaos.
Yep.
You've got well, now you have Sansa trying to figure out her life has just become chaos and she doesn't really know how to climb out of it herself. You've got Gendry and Arya who their whole life has become chaos, right? And what's going to happen with them? Arya continues to climb up her own ladder. Mm-hmm. From the moment Ned died until right now and even beyond until we see her in season 7. I think season 7 we see Arya as probably as skilled and as trained as she's going to be, and now it's just payoff.
I think you're right.
Do you think that?
Yeah, I think so. I think season 8 is going to be fucking hardcore.
Well, I think like when she fought with Brienne, I think we could probably say, okay, yeah, she's
awesome. Yeah,
her training is done. She's done it. Good job.
Anybody who can even remotely keep up with Brienne, let alone like fling their dagger, flipping it from hand to hand, and catch her with like a right in the neck. She's on that level now apparently.
And then you see what's going on at River Run, and you see that the Freys are making their moves. Right, to climb up their own ladder. Rob has are they at Harrenhal? Golly, they are at Harrenhal.
They want Harrenhal. I don't think they're at Harrenhal, but the phrase said along with the marriage proposal for Edmure, they want Harrenhal. No,
they're not at Harrenhal because Bruce Bolton is at Harrenhal right now.
Yeah, they're not at Harrenhal.
Okay, I was like, did I miss?
They want it though.
Right.
He's like, remember, Harrenhal's. We're fighting for the North. Harrenhal's not part of the North. Fine, you can have it. Once
that really just proves how stupid the Freys are. We want this ridiculous castle that nobody wants and that you have no authority over, and you're going to give it to us.
And that's totally destroyed and cursed.
Right. Exactly. Another cursed family.
Yeah, and I guess when Rob gives them Harrenhal at this moment, like says when it's all said and done, you can have it. Maybe that includes them into the Harrenhal curse at this point, and
fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it pays off when Arya fucking wipes out their whole family, basically. Yeah.
Dave was funny when we were watching this episode. He goes, "Are those the meat pie phrase?" I said, "Yes, they are."
Oh, are they? Yeah. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
I said, "Those are the ones that get eaten.
Frey pies.
They're a delicious feast."
Black Walder or whatever. And, oh my god, that's so funny. I like that. That's great. High five, Dave. I like that.
I know he makes great comments.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so anyways, I just thought that if you take, we all know that the episode is directly linked to Littlefinger's speech and to Jon and Ygritte and Tormund's climb. But it's also kind of a running theme throughout the entire episode of each character trying to climb up their own ladder, evolve in their own way, get to where they want to get. You know, Robb wants to win the war. He's making steps that he thinks are going to ensure that. You know, Arya wants to learn how to fight and kill people on her list. And, you know, she's taking any opportunities she can to learn in that way. Melisandre is trying to get Stannis to be the one true king, and she's making her own moves to try and climb up her own ladder. Then you've got Littlefinger and Varys doing their own business. You know, Tywin and Olenna are their own number in tonight's episode.
Yeah, they
are. So I don't know. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
That was fucking rad. I hadn't even like considered it, and like such a scale as that, like all the different ladders and all the different climbs that are occurring by everybody. So crazy. And Bran is like metaphorically climbing the latitude as he goes north. Yeah.
Oh, that's true, huh? Look at that.
Or is that longitude? I can't remember. But yeah, that's cool, man.
And he doesn't even know what he's doing because he's just too busy trying to keep his two women apart from each other.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there's enough Bran to go around, all right?
Yeah, literally. That's so funny. There's
so what
so
was
many
your
brands.
number 3?
My number 3 is the Olenna and Tywin scene, so let's collaborate on that. Impossible! Why? My grandson is the pride of Highgarden, the most desirable bachelor in all the 7 kingdoms. Your daughter is rich, the most beautiful woman in all 7 kingdoms, and the mother of the king. Old.
I love the way she said old. Yeah. Old.
So fucking great. She's like, I'm something of an expert on the subject. Oh my god, her change will be upon her before long. Oh, it's so fucking funny. I'll spare you the details of what will happen then, but you men may have a stomach for bloodshed and slaughter, but this is an entirely different matter.
And yes, it is.
He's like, yeah, my stomach remains quite strong, but the only thing that might turn it are the details of your grandson's nocturnal activities. Do you deny them? Oh, no, not at all. A sword swallower through and through.
Through and through.
Oh my god, she's so like blunt about it.
Seriously, this is one of the best scenes ever.
It really is.
In television. The two of them, I wish that there was more of them.
How could you possibly beat the combination of Diana Rigg and Charles Dance?
Could you imagine, though, if Tywin and Olenna ever got together?
Yeah, like, they could have married themselves.
Like, if that was the union?
Yeah, they got married themselves. That would have been fucking hilarious.
They would rule. The Night King would bend the knee.
They'd hate fuck the shit out of each other. Yeah. Just saying. You know what I mean? Right? Is that too much? Should I include that or not?
No, I liked that.
Dude, somebody's gonna break a hip. One of those two. Oh my god. So yeah, so funny. So many little great lines. The sword swallower one was just priceless.
I love it when she says, as an authority on myself, I have to disagree.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I totally sympathize with that line. They go on and they're talking about these marriage deals and everything, and eventually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry.
That's okay.
She goes on, and I wanted to mention that she's like, did you grow up with boy cousins, Lord Tywin? Some of your father's bannermen, squires, stable boys, of course. And you never... No, not once, not in any way, never. I congratulate you upon your restraint. But when I heard that, I heard restraint implies initial interest, and I don't get the vibe that Tywin had any initial interest, so I don't think any restraint came into play there. Just a little technical thing I wanted to mention. Restraint may not apply.
Unless there's rumors of Tywin that he prefers to remain buried. I mean, we know nothing about Tywin, really. We know about later years Tywin.
Well, yeah, in show context, yeah, we really don't know much about him at all, huh?
I mean, in book text, I guess we do know more about him, but really there's a lot of ambiguity and vagueness to a lot of his story as well.
Definitely. Absolutely. But one thing that I did get a firm
I'm not
impression
saying everybody
of,
in Westeros is gay, by
no.
the way.
I did get the impression that Tywin really, really was like head over heels in love with his cousin Joanna, the mother of his children, though. And like she was the only thing that like made him smile. And after she died, it was like hardcore Tywin was just permanent, you know?
And, you know, Lady Olenna probably was just trying to get under his skin.
Oh, yeah, trying to get a rise out of him. Absolutely. I think you're right. That's probably what that was all about. She's taunting him.
She's the best, yeah. She knows exactly how to taunt everybody. She even threw Varys off of his game.
Yeah. I think she throws everybody off their game. She throws Brienne off her game by giving her a compliment, like a legitimate compliment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brienne is like totally blown away by that. I can't wait for that. That's one of my favorite moments, too.
And also when when she talks to Daenerys later and she's like be a dragon.
Yeah,
You're a dragon, right? You're a fucking dragon, you know. Oh, I miss her.
Me too. It's definitely sad that she had to go. Very sad, but it was a great death. It's really cool.
One of the best.
Yeah, that confession is man.
Glorious. Badass character deserves a badass death, just like Tywin Lannister, right?
Yeah. So she goes on saying, it's natural for two boys to have a go at each other beneath the sheets. And he's like, well, perhaps Highgarden has a high tolerance for unnatural behavior. He immediately contradicts that, saying it's unnatural. And then she says, true, we don't tie ourselves in knots over a bit of discreet buggery, but brothers and sisters,
I know
where I come from, that stain would be very hard to wash out. It's like, I will not breathe further life into a malicious lie by discussing it. And
she had that chambered. Yeah,
and she says, like, whether or not it's true, you got to admit people are convinced by it. And so, like, it's the same thing. Like, whether or not you believe in God, you got to understand that people are going to kill for God, you know, or like do stuff in the name of God. People are influenced by religion, and people are influenced by propaganda, and you know whether or not it's true. Like people are going to think stuff is true, you know.
Well, and she makes a good point. She goes, listen, they're so convinced that they're putting swords in their hands, and they're willing to die over it.
Right, like religious conquests, same type of thing. You got soldiers of God, like same with for example, in Game of Thrones, what are they? In
Faith Militant?
Faith Militant. Yeah, there you go.
You're
just
welcome.
like that. Thanks. Yeah. You complete me.
I do.
So, that's when she says, as an authority on myself, I must disagree, which is a great line. But then that's when
I'm going to keep that for future arguments in my life.
Do it.
As an authority on myself, I have to disagree.
Yeah, that's a great... How can anybody argue with that? You know?
I know.
So this is when like the big guns get busted out, right? Mm-hmm. So she's like, now if rumors about my children were true, then Joffrey is no king at all, and House Tyrell would be throwing its prized flower into the dirt. And she says, and if Cersei is too old to give Loras children, we're throwing another prized flower into the dirt. It's a chance we simply cannot take. The uncertainty makes you uncomfortable. All right, I'll remove it for you. If you refuse to marry Loras to Cersei, I will name him to the Kingsguard. I'm sure you're familiar with the Kingsguard vows. He'll never marry, he will never have children. Oh, the Tyrell name will fade, and Highgarden will go to the children of Joffrey and Margaery. And this is fucking wild, because this is something that Tywin is all too familiar with himself, this form of punishment. He had a spat with Mad King Aerys, and Aerys was not stoked with Tywin, and he named Jaime his heir. The heir apparent to Casterly Rock, he named him to the Kingsguard, leaving Tywin with just a twisted dwarf to inherit his home. And he knew that this was a huge blow to House Lannister and to Tywin, who's like the most pride-filled guy on earth. So this is really low for Tywin to be willing to inflict this on another house after such torture that it's caused him having his son appointed to the Kingsguard. So it shows you what depths Tywin will sink to accomplish whatever his goal is at any given moment. Yeah, whether it's destroying a whole family by trapping them inside mines and diverting the Tumblestone River over the mines and drowning them all, or whether it's by eliminating their line by appointing their only male heir to the Kingsguard and de facto bringing their castle under the control of his grandson's kids. You know what I mean? Like, god damn, Tywin is so fucking hardcore.
Yeah, he's pretty terrible.
He's ruthless. He is so ruthless. Oh, she says, you would have your grandson protected by someone who disgusts you? And he says, I would have my grandson protected by a skilled warrior who takes his vows seriously. You know, playing like the politics there, like PC type stuff. Like,
well, and he also understands that, you know, Loras is not, he's not like some fool with a sword. I mean, he's highly accomplished.
It's true.
He won the Hands tournament just a few years back.
Yeah, and it also helps him. It's a cover for Tywin, so it won't be seen as purely a political move. You know what I mean? So he's like playing the politics, like, oh well, I'd have my grandson protected by a skilled warrior. You know, she's like, fuck, he's got me.
I'd like it if my grandson would die personally, but you know, we can't have everything.
Yeah. So, shall I draw up the order, or do you consent to this marriage?
And then Olenna has the best line in the scene.
Which is?
It's a rare enough thing to have a man live up to his reputation.
Yep, and she was so disappointed by Tyrion just so recently that he was
and Varys.
Oh, and Varys too?
I remember she said, hey, you know, why are you walking away? I thought you were some kind of force to be reckoned with. You know?
That's great. Oh man! So finally, somebody lives up to the image of that their reputation portrays, and Olenna is cowed by Tywin Lannister. Bam! You got to be real strong to cow Lady Olenna. You know.
Well, they're both old school.
Super.
I mean, how many elderly people do we see in Westeros? Like none.
We see Maester Aemon, Walder Frey, and
Balon Greyjoy.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning too that they portray people in the TV show a lot older than they are in the books. Like Ned Stark, for instance, is 35 in the books, and he's like got to be like 50 on the show, right?
Right.
So everybody's aged up on the show to make it seem more realistic or relatable to our society.
Well, nobody wants to see any of the Stark children 10 years younger with everything that they've all been through. Like, nobody wants to see that.
They didn't have
especially
to. Especially
Sansa.
Yeah. But they chose to age up other people as well, you know, which is interesting decision. But yeah, people definitely don't live to be super old in Westeros generally, so good point.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I mean, they you know, they're probably hardened and weathered with their own experience that not a lot of, like, probably 80% of the people that are in power right now have.
Well, he's definitely
Tywin
hardened.
And Olenna have the experience.
Yeah, definitely. They have lots of experience, and he, by that experience, is definitely hardened, and she is definitely weathered. I'm sorry, Diana Rigg. You're lovely. I don't mean to insult your looks.
She is lovely, but you know what? I get what you're saying, and she'd probably take that as a compliment because it means that she played her part perfectly.
Right? Yeah. She's amazing, and she was.
And Diana Rigg, if you're really listening to us, we love you.
Yeah, love you, and you were a fox.
You've made our year. Hashtag Diana Rigg, please discover podcasts right now.
Oh man, that'd be a cool special guest to have, huh?
Oh my gosh, I would be tongue-tied.
We should try to do that. We should try to get Diana Rigg on the show.
Yeah, okay.
She's not like super busy or anything, I don't think, right? Maybe she is. Who knows? Yeah.
She might be. What? I don't know how old she is.
Probably,
she's like 80.
Hopefully she doesn't need to be super busy. I mean, she was, you know, a Bond girl and everything, right? So hopefully she's got enough money so she doesn't have to be busy. But if she chooses to be busy, that's good for her.
I love her.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's just fantastic. One of the top characters in the show, and easily one of the like most powerful performers. So definitely. So that wraps up my number 3. You want to add anything to that? About that whole scene?
You know what? I don't. I do have. We can save that for the note section because I've got like asides, right, from everything that's happening.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Sure.
I think that was good enough.
All right.
So, since that was one of mine, we'll call that my number 2. My number 2. Okay, so I'm going to piggyback on this for my number 2.
All right.
Instead of having it be Tywin and Olenna, since we did that, I'm going to kind of extend out into King's Landing a little bit. I want to talk about just the Lannisters as kind of a whole right now.
All right.
Because I thought that we got this really great scene from Cersei and Tyrion.
Yeah, really good scene between them.
Anytime that they're together and that they're alone, I feel that they really act like brother and sister a lot more when no one's looking.
Yeah, definitely. Especially this scene. This was one of the top ones, I'd say.
Well, I mean, even, and you can even go back to right before Blackwater when Cersei and Tyrion were together and she was, really honest with him about her relationship with Jaime and her fears for Joffrey.
Yeah,
and
she mentions it again this week too. She basically admits to the incest again by saying, "Yeah, when Jaime gets home, Loras might come down with a case of sword through bowels." Yeah, it's true.
Right, but she doesn't want to tell Tyrion that it was her son that planned his death. Or ordered his death.
Right.
And he said, "Am I out of danger?" And she said, "Probably not."
Yeah, she's always hesitant to out Joffrey. It was the same thing when he ordered the bastards to be murdered, right?
Right. But
Yeah.
she can't control him, right? She knows she can't control him. She's a little scared of him. And she's funny because she says, Joffrey won't try anything now that Father's here. And you kind of smash cut to the end of this episode where it's very clear that nobody is actually thinking about who is really the king. Tywin's making all of these backroom deals and he's, making marriages and trying to forge power, whatever. Nobody has their eyes on the monster that is Joffrey Baratheon.
Yeah, Caligula,
right?
Who's crossbowing hookers in his chambers.
Right. I mean, this is really interesting because I think both Tywin and Cersei have both underestimated what Tywin's control over Joffrey was going to be.
I agree.
Even with Tywin there as hand, Joffrey is still killing Raz for pleasure, and Littlefinger orchestrates this all before he leaves. So Littlefinger is like, I'm just going to throw one last bit of crazy into the mix before I sail off.
Wow, that's a great point. He's like, I'm just gonna enable Joffrey to do something new and crazy that he's never done before, just to make him all the more insane and see what happens after that.
Right.
That's fucking
right.
wild.
And so, remember a few weeks back, Cersei's like, you try controlling him, and Tywin's like, I will control him. Okay, well, you're not really doing it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Well, he didn't listen to Yoda.
yeah, basically.
So, you have all of these adults. You have Tywin and Olenna, you have Cersei and Tyrion, and even to an extent Marjorie and Loras, right? Everybody's working really hard to get their piece of the pie and to ensure their own survival in the realm. But what everybody has kind of forgotten about is that there is a crazy person on the Iron Throne. And Littlefinger has been serving him pieces of candy when nobody's looking.
Pieces of crazy
know what
candy.
I'm saying?
Not just candy,
He's
crazy candy.
He's like, here, you have a new crossbow? Here's a whore. Let's see what happens, right?
Ever try putting together a whore and a crossbow? Think about it.
Yeah. I welcome the thought.
You've got a whore, you've got a crossbow. Try them together. See how it works.
And I mean, Littlefinger's just pimping out his whores for death. I mean, it's gross.
Yeah.
And it's not until I think it's too late that probably Tywin realizes that he has no control over a new mad king. It's a mad boy king, right?
Yeah,
and the
totally.
last time he was hand, it was for a mad king. Because I think Tywin, and I'm thinking about this right now, Tywin is so consumed with his own power and his own legacy and his own self-fulfilling prophecies that he doesn't see that the person he's supposed to be serving is left without a leash.
Right.
And they're crazy.
Or
right?
he doesn't see that his kids are fucking each other. All kinds of other stuff that he doesn't see.
Anything. He doesn't see any of it.
And that pretty much sums up Tywin. He's so focused on his legacy, he's missing all the individual stuff that's happening.
He's missing why his legacy isn't going to be anything.
And that solidifies what I had said before, that he's all about collectivism, which is the whole, as opposed to paying attention to the individualism. So yeah, that just reinforces that whole message. Good call on that. It's so funny.
Yeah, so I guess that's my number 2.
All right, nice one.
What's your number 1?
My number
Wait, your number 2
first. My number 2 sort of expands on that.
Oh, cool. We're gonna go even further.
Actually,
which I like.
Maybe not. Oh wait, yeah, it does. It's Sansa and Loras and the marriage dilemmas.
Oh my gosh, that was such an awkward scene.
I feel so bad for Sansa because she's the only person on the planet who is incapable of seeing that Sir Loras is so very obviously very gay. Or at the very least, not interested in her. Yeah. I mean, you could say that, but I think every single line that he has in the scene is astronomically gay, right? It starts off, that's a wonderful
stereotypically
pin.
gay.
Yeah. Stereotypically, I should say, yeah. That's a wonderful pin. Oh, it's more of a brooch, really. He's being particular.
I like it that he's thinking about it afterwards. He goes,
although, I suppose. Yeah,
brooch could be a pin.
Yeah.
It's do you ever watch Friends?
I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in forever. It's a good show.
There's this super awkward scene between Ross and Mike Hannigan where they don't know what to talk about, and it's super awkward because it's just the two of them, and they're talking about the differences between a beer and a lager. An ale and a lager, and they're like, we could look it up.
Oh, lagers are cold brewed.
And Paul Rudd, who plays Mike, is just like, things are getting wild. It just reminded me of that.
Man, that guy is so funny.
He's great on Friends. If you ever want to see it,
he was on Friends. I don't even remember that.
Oh, I've seen Friends hundreds and hundreds of times. I could replay episodes in my head, word for word,
without actually watching it.
It's pathetic.
Head movies make my eyes rain.
It's pathetic.
That's great. Oh, it's so funny. So he's like, it's more of a brooch, really, pretty gay. To point out,
I know.
And then she's like, I'm very happy about, and he's insinuating the marriage. And he's like, yes,
me
I
too.
am as well. I feel like I'm in a dream. Yes, me too.
A dream.
Definitely. More of a nightmare for him.
Not a waking nightmare. No, not that.
And then he goes on to show how typically, it's the woman who dreams about a wedding their whole life. He's like, I've dreamed of a large wedding since I was quite young. The guests, the food, the tournaments. And she's like, oh, just like me, and not realizing that, just like you, he likes guys, and
yeah, but she realizes that he's not thinking about his bride.
Right, yeah.
She's waiting for him to say, and you.
It's so funny, yeah, that just rubs it in even further. Oh, and the bride, of course, yeah, definitely. That's what I usually think of as the bride. He tries to cover it, so funny. And then he goes on.
I think about what you're going to win.
Yeah, the most beautiful bride. Once he thinks about the bride, then he's what he's really thinking about is the fashion. The most beautiful bride in the world, in the most beautiful gown of gold and green brocade with fringed sleeves. Gayest ever.
And she was excited because she's like, oh, he's interested and he loves me.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, everybody. There's nothing wrong with being gay at all. But it's just so sad that Sansa can't see it. Everybody sees it except Sansa. He's called a sword swallower in this episode, by his own grandmother.
Don't have gaydar.
Yeah,
I think, right? I mean,
you must,
you have to kind of maybe develop it. I'm not sure. I grew up in the theater, so it's normal to me. I don't care either way. It is what it is, right? But yeah, I mean, some people are just oblivious to it. My dad is one of them who's just oblivious to it. I'm like, Dad, that guy is gay. He's like, what? Huh? I'm like, yeah. I know, weird, right? People are gay.
It's so funny, man. It's great.
So it happens.
Similar type thing with Renly, I believe too, where he would prance about and his fashionable clothes, and some people, like, it was obvious to a lot of people that he was gay, but some people just didn't get it. I feel like it's pretty great.
Yeah, right. Well, I did like, though, that they had common ground with each other. They both
hate King's Landing.
King's Landing.
Yeah, it's a good starting point for, like, developing a relationship, you know?
But both of their eyes kind of lit up. It was the first thing that they could really talk about without being awkward or shy or anything. Like, they're both like, yes, this place is terrible. Let's talk about that.
The most terrible place there is. Yeah, good point. So that was cute. Nice to see them sort of relate there. Sad knowing that it's going to be ripped out from underneath both of them. I'm sure Loras would probably rather be married to Sansa than Cersei, you know? At least the company would be pleasant.
Well, he could do whatever he wanted, too.
Yeah, true.
Without fear of being killed.
Yeah, and we do know that he does end up on the Kingsguard, so damn. Ruthless. So then we get that whole thing where they're, you know, talking about the marriage and everything, and then Tyrion and Cersei are talking about the marriages, and they're like, who's gonna break it to Sansa, basically. You know, it's so fucked up. I thought he had a funny line too, when he was asking about the if Cersei tried to have him killed, you know, and she's like hesitant to out Joffrey, but Tyrion has a great line. He's like, what was it? She says, whether I did what I did to protect our family. I'm your family. Oh, no, she says, I did what I did to protect your family. He says, I'm your family, a member of your family who has actively contributed to that family's survival, whether or not you or father or anyone else wants to admit it. And she says, I do admit it.
She gives it to him.
Yeah.
She gives him what he's been seeking now for 6 episodes.
Yeah, so that was a good little moment where, like, I was happy that she at least admitted that. Right, and she says, if it weren't for you and your trick with the wildfire, Stannis would have sacked the city before Father got here. Our heads would still be rotting on the city gate. So that's good that she realizes that, at least. He gets 1 point at least from her. And he says, trying to have me killed is an odd way of saying thank you, which is a funny line. There are 2 people in the King's Landing who can give an order to the Kingsguard. Did you or did you not order Sir Meryn to kill me during the Battle of Blackwater? And she doesn't answer, but she's like, has like this look on her face, like, which is pretty funny.
Like, it wasn't me.
And it's a comment. That's fucking great. Butt naked, banging on the bathroom floor with Jaime. It was her.
It wasn't me.
So then he goes on to say how stupid it was for the king to order the Kingsguard to kill the hand of the king right in front of the army, which is, you know, it's really dumb. They mentioned that. I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of stupid. Not that it really may matter. It just may make the army like stay further in line. Like, oh yeah, the king will kill you if you cross him. He'll do it to the hand. He'll do it to you. So stay in line, little army ants.
Do you think that Cersei really, like, actually maybe does care for Tyrion?
I don't know. I
only ask this because we know about her prophecy that we learn later.
But so you think that she's scared he's the Valonqar, but aside from that she like has to make herself hate him to make herself fight against him, to
distance herself from him, or something. It's
that
stupid because she hates everybody, and I'm sure that she actually hates him. But
yeah.
there are times where I think that she has a better relationship with him than she does Jaime. You know, she has an honesty with Tyrion that she doesn't have with anybody else. Yeah,
they do have their moments. It's an interesting perspective to explore. We'll have to pay more attention, I think, to that concept.
I know it's funny because I've raised this question in my brain a couple of times since we started our rewatch.
Nice. Interesting.
You know, so I don't know. Yeah, keep it in the back of your head. Yeah. Maybe we figure it out. Maybe we don't.
She blames him. You know, one of the things that she keeps coming back to is, you killed our mother, right? She has to know that's not his fault. She has to know it's unfair to blame him for that. So maybe she knows about the prophecy and she is coming up with reasons to hate him and uses that as one of them because she needs to hate him.
Oh, that's interesting.
She needs to hate him to keep him distant and to protect herself from the perceived threat that she finds in the prophecy, right?
That's a great point, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to your psychiatry lessons with Dr. Duncan.
An intern, Kristen.
No. Co-doctor K.
No. I'll be the intern.
You don't want to deal with their problems, huh?
I really don't.
That's classic.
I don't want to observe HIPAA. Okay.
Yeah, I hear that. It's pretty wild. So yeah, that's pretty cool. They're talking about all this stuff, the attempted assassination, etc. And then they get talking about the marriages a bit, and Tyrion's like, "Fuck, who's gonna break it to Sansa, right?" Basically, who's gonna tell her?
It would have been great if they each put their fingers on their noses.
Yeah,
not me.
I don't play that game, just so you know. So don't ever try that around me. I've had people do it, and I'm like, no, it doesn't count because I don't play, so I wasn't part of that.
We do that in our house. Who's picking up the dog poop? Not it.
It's a perfectly great game. I just never have been a player of it. Mostly because I don't want to be duped into doing stuff, I guess.
You're like, mostly because I'm usually not paying attention, so I probably always lose.
Yeah. That's probably exactly what it is. Welcome to your psychiatry lessons with Dr. K. So it's so funny. Tyrion shows up to see Sansa, right? And he's trying to break the bad news to Sansa that your wedding with Loras that you're so excited about is kind of off, and you're
but Shay's there, man.
Yeah, and that's where it's real awkward. Is Shay's there, his lover is there, and he's got the great line. What is it? It's sometimes we think we want to hear something, and it's only afterwards when it's too late that we realize we wished we'd heard it under entirely different circumstances. You know?
They don't know that we know that they know that we know that we know.
Sansa doesn't know he's talking to Shay when he says that.
Shay doesn't even know that Tyrion's talking to Shay.
Yeah. It's fucking great. So just that whole scene is so funny. He's like just really trying to get Shay out of the room. Like, you don't want to learn about this way. Like, really, it's not going to be good. It was not good at all, I imagine. And the next scene we get after Sansa gets the news, next time we see Sansa, she's realizing it's too late to take her journey with Littlefinger and escape, and she's going to be trapped, not being married to Loras, but being married to Tyrion. And Littlefinger sums that up in his speech about the ladder when he says, "Some are given the chance to climb, but they refuse. They cling to the realm where the gods are love. Illusions." And she had clung to love and the hope that she would be marrying Sir Loras, and she had a chance to climb with Littlefinger and to escape King's Landing, and that's when it cuts to her crying on the pier with Shay as she watches his ship sail off in the distance. So it's just really so much sad stuff with Sansa. You know, it's so sad that she was so excited about Loras.
Yeah, we're about to go into a really rough patch.
Yeah, with Sansa, yeah. It's just so sad. Everything is so sad with Sansa. Her, you know, she grew up like so sheltered and with these illusions of what people were like and what knights were, and the way things work, like believing the stories in the songs, the propaganda, you know, written by the singers hired by the kings who won the wars, you know, type thing. And so, you know, history, his story, the story of the victor. The victor decides who the bad guy was, right? And the victor is always the good guy. Like, I bet if Hitler won World War II, the U.S. would be like, the Allied forces would be painted as like the evil ones. You know what I mean?
Have you ever seen The Man in the High Castle?
No, we were talking about that recently, though, or someone was telling me about that recently.
You should watch The Man in the High... In fact, Duncan, if you ever want a podcast together about The Man in the High Castle, I'm telling you right now, I'm itching for it.
Let's do it. We can make that plan right now. We have extra weeks to, you know, where we're going to need to filler content for, I mean, not filler content, but, you know, more content.
Maybe we could do like a summer series or something.
Yeah, we could come up with stuff. We can ask our audience, you know, if there's certain things that they would like to hear us cover or something like that. Cover some stuff we're interested in that we think deserves exposure.
It was Gunpowder? That Kit Harington was still in?
Gunpowder? One of the two, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to cover that. I think that was a miniseries.
Yeah, we will cover that. We can do that. We should plan to do that soon, actually.
Man in the High Castle, you watched the first episode. whenever you have time and you let me know what you think. I think it's a phenomenal show. But that's the premise. The premise is that Hitler won World War II.
Ooh, hardcore.
And it's a story set in the United States.
Damn, that's fucking wild.
Awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would be very interested in. It's like sort of like alt-world comics where like they have Red Sun, where same thing, like same type of thing, where Superman crash lands in Moscow, Russia, instead of the U.S., and he grows up as the Red Sun, like Russian Superman, which is pretty wild. Yeah. It also reminds me of Supergirl, a really awesome show on CW that I really love that show. They picked the perfect girl for Supergirl.
I know you do.
Yeah. But they did a collaboration with Arrow and with the Flash recently. What was it? It was Crisis on Earth X, and it was a 4-part series that they did, which was featured all the characters on each of the individual shows, and it was essentially, the plot is that on Earth X, which is a parallel universe Earth, Hitler won World War II, and so they have they have Nazi Supergirl, Nazi Arrow. It's
crazy.
It's fucking cool, man. For the Reich! It's fucked up.
I think that you would really I want you to see this show. I want us to stop right now and I want to watch it. I just think that this show has you written all over it. I love it.
It does sound like
dark. It's dark. It's disturbing. Yeah. It's fascinating. It's filled with history. It's awesome.
That sounds so awesome. Good. It sounds so good.
It's so heavy though. You can only really watch 1 or 2 episodes at a time before you have to stop.
Wow, man. That's wild. That's crazy.
Because I like dark stuff, and I can't binge this. I tried, and I was like, I gotta watch something heavy. Happy.
You need to be the mountain to be able to bear that.
I gotta go paint some flowers or something.
Speaking of the mountain, do you hear he recently broke the world record for deadlifting?
I did, over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, so he's the strongest guy in Westeros and the strongest deadlifter known on Earth, at least at this point, too. So that's hardcore. He beat Ronnie Coleman, man. Ronnie Coleman.
Well,
lightweight, baby.
Well, HBO, Dan and Dave over there at HBO, they're very good at casting the right people.
Yeah, it took them 3 tries, but they did get it.
Their first mountain sucked.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't want to criticize anybody,
I don't either, but he was not the mountain.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't as big as we imagined the mountain to be.
I'm not saying he was a bad actor. What I'm saying is
right.
that he was not the mountain.
Right, yeah. Haffer Thor Bjornsson, he is the fucking mountain. There's no question about it. Yeah.
Have you seen him standing next to Lena Headey?
Yeah, my sister told me last night, I think, that the mountain's girlfriend or wife or whatever is 5'2".
That's ridiculous. That just seems like a punishment. As somebody who's 5'3", that's punishment.
Oh wow, you're 5'3"?
I'm 5'3". I would dwarf you.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, man. What were we talking about? We're talking about.
I have no idea.
We're talking about Hitler. Yeah, so basically, it sucks to be Sansa. It's real sad that nobody, that everybody knows that Loras is gay except her, but she's so excited and she shouldn't be. She should, her hopes keep getting brought up and she keeps getting destroyed, it's the same thing. She's going to King's Landing, she's so excited, and then her father gets fucking beheaded right in front of her. She's then supposed to be married to Loras, and she's over the moon about that, and then no, ripped out from under her, plus he's gay, so sorry. And then she gets returned to Winterfell, and she's like, oh my god, I'm finally home, Winterfell. And then nope, she's brutally raped and tortured by a sadist who's just what is the word I'm looking for?
Irreparably?
No, he's irredeemable. He's just an irredeemable sadist.
I see what you're saying. Okay. I thought you were saying she was irreparably harmed.
No, she is too strong for that. She's never irreparably harmed. She's just going to bounce back. She's a Stark,
She's the Wardeness of the North.
Fuck, yeah. And
I can't wait to see what she does in season 8. I'm Team Sansa. Watching her story evolve right now after watching season 7, I am Team Sansa Stark. And I have hated her for many years. I thought she was annoying as all hell. And I want to wear my Team Sansa shirt and ring my bell and wave a banner.
Buy your Team Sansa shirts at gameofmicrophones.com. That'd be cool. We should do. We'll do that. We'll put out some Team Sansa shirts. How about that?
Yeah. Am I the only one? Come on, guys.
No,
let me know.
We can put out all our favorite characters. So you can
Team Sansa.
Team whatever you want.
Team Daenerys.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Team Kit. Jon Snow, I mean.
Team Aegon. Everyone's like, huh?
Yeah. That would be the shirt.
Yeah.
People would be like, what are they doing? That's a spoiler, you moron.
Yeah, true.
What'ever.
What'd you just call me?
There's certain things that it's like, there's certain things that if you haven't heard about now, then you don't have internet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have the internet, but I didn't realize Walking Dead was on until the day it was on the other day. So it's possible that you just somehow managed to escape all these spoilers. But it's very unlikely.
Okay.
I'm like the very rare exception. And I do say that I was born under a rock on Pluto, so I may still reside under a rock to some degree. Casterly Rock. Bah.
Oh, Casterly Rock. I needed more of that last season.
Yeah. So, hopefully we'll get more. That'd be really cool. This is a beautiful looking place. And while we're just a brief mention, you guys should check out on YouTube Shadiversity. It's this guy Shad, I think he's Australian, S-H-A-D, Shadiversity, like university. But he talks about, he's like an expert in swords and like medieval type stuff, and he analyzes, he does a great analysis of ice, the sword, deciding whether it's a great sword or a two-handed great sword or a broadsword or a long sword. Sorry, but I will tell you he does not factor in the fact that it's very light, being Valyrian steel. So I disagree with his final assessment. But he analyzes the castles of Westeros, like looks at Winterfell, looks at Casterly Rock, looks at all these different castles, and decides whether or not they the designers, like the conceptual art people for the show, did a good job at designing like functional castles, essentially. So it's pretty cool. He points out that the roofs on top of Winterfell are flat, and that being in the north, dealing with a lot of snow, that might not be a great idea. But another thing he forgets about is that they use ironwood, which is like super strong wood.
Right.
So I bet those roofs are made of ironwood. So it does make sense a little in the end, potentially. Although it would make more sense just to have them, sloped, so the snow falls off. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That was my number 2. Sansa and Loras and Sansa and just how you got it. You heard it all.
Wow, we really, that's one of the best tangents I think.
Yeah, that was rabbit hole
since starting this. Yeah,
rabbit hole level tangents.
Oh, that was funny.
For you, the listeners of Game of Microphones, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So you guys know I always recommend Game of Thrones and any of those books, but this week I want to recommend something that's a little different. It's called The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, The Missing Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up by Richard J. Dewhurst. But it's a really cool book. It's about all these accounts, newspaper articles, reports from like all around the U.S. where they have apparently dug up giant skeletons from like 9 feet to 14 feet tall, many of which were clad in bronze armor with long red hair and 2 rows of teeth, 6 fingers and toes, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, that's crazy.
But this is like pretty well documented. It's pretty interesting stuff. So I recommend checking that out. And to do that, go get your free audiobook and your free trial at audibletrial.com/GOM. Again, that's audibletrial.com/GOM. Enjoy.
My number 1 is probably not going to be a surprise. It is our final scene with 2 of my favorite characters for very different reasons. Varys and Littlefinger.
Yep, same here. It's my number 1 as well. Chaos is a ladder.
I love it that we're not even talking about the literal climb.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? We'll get to it. It just wasn't one of the top 5 for either of us.
It really wasn't in the grand scheme of things, which is funny.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned before, first of all, I just want to say that Varys had the funniest line, maybe of the episode.
Ooh.
When he said, talking about the Iron Throne, he goes, "It's an ugly thing, yet it has its certain appeal." The Liza Aaron of chairs.
Oh my god, I literally missed that this episode.
Literally?
I literally skipped right over it, Chris Traeger.
The Liza Aaron of chairs. I thought that was hilarious. It's an ugly thing, yet it has a certain appeal.
Oh my god. And so he's saying that to poke at Littlefinger, who's betrothed to Liza Aaron.
Right, exactly. And that's why Littlefinger says it's the early days. Meaning, yeah, I'm betrothed to her, but she ain't going to be my wife for very long.
Oh, damn. That's fucking brutal.
That's what I thought of it, because he still has a long game for Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
He came back for her without really knowing. I mean, later, right? But he comes back without really knowing what's going to happen, because I just don't believe that he was involved in Joffrey's death. I mean, he took credit for it, but we know that it was Olenna and Varys that ultimately made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, he provided the necklace through what's his face, Sir Dantos, who gave it to Sansa. So he was involved to some degree, but I think the impetus definitely came from Lady Olenna. So I'd be interested to hear how she recruited him in her plot.
Yeah, especially since you can't really trust that guy.
Yeah. Like,
how do you get a trustworthy? What am I trying to say? How do you get him to commit to something while knowing that he's actually committing to that something?
She failed because he ended up betraying her and giving up Oliver to Cersei, which ended up with Loras's imprisonment, right? So,
well, what if it is that he said, "I need you to provide this for me, right? And in return, I will make it so that you can take Sansa with you wherever you go."
Yeah.
Because that's probably the only thing, because somebody Varys knew that he had 2 feather beds. So who did Varys tell that to, right? I mean, you could go down to like this twisted web, right?
Speaking of
Littlefinger and Littlefinger, right? Ha 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 ha. And Littlefinger killed the one person that had read the manifest.
Who is that?
Ros.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's just another really sad thing. And that's what I wanted to bring up too, is you mentioned how Littlefinger had, sold his prostitutes to death, basically. And it's not the first time he did that. And he actually told Ros how he had done that to another prostitute, right? So it's just another element of like horrifying sadness that her own death was foreshadowed by that story that he told her, foreshadowing her own death. Basically, I have a client.
Depresses me.
Yeah, it's fucked up. So she heard the warning and she still decided to collaborate with Varys anyway, because she's scared of Littlefinger justifiably, and her fear paid off. Like it came. I mean, it didn't pay off for her, but her fear proved justified. I should say.
Oh, poor Ros.
Right? Isn't that fucked up?
I was really, I liked Ros.
What's not to like?
She was very smart. She didn't play the game very well.
She was learning though. She tried. She was really smart. Good. She was a climber. We could say.
Yeah,
and that's the other
shook
thing
up
that
Varys too when Varys realized what happened.
Really
that shook him
up. He was real shaken. And Littlefinger, he says many who try to climb it fail and never get to try again. The fall breaks them. And that's the reference to Ros, who tried to climb and tried to betray Littlefinger and take a step on Varys' ladder. And she fell. She got caught. And it sucks. It sucks, man.
It does. You know what? I agree with you. It does suck. And there's really, that's just one of those deaths that, she wasn't a very important character as far as the story goes, but she's somebody that you didn't want anything bad to happen to. Right.
And you know who would be the most sad about this currently, in their current state? Who would be the most sad about this?
Theon?
Yeah, he won't be sad for too long, though. He'll still be sad, maybe, if he cares about Ros at all, but he wouldn't be able to act on his feelings for her pretty soon. So at least in his current state, he would be really sad about Ros, because he did have a thing for her.
Yeah, I still, I don't think Ros is really at the forefront
of his mind right now.
Right now.
Yeah. I agree.
But, whatever.
Oh, what a twisted scene that was. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Littlefinger kind of proves in this moment who we're really dealing with. I think that we've only played at what Littlefinger is capable of. We've seen him betray Ned. We've seen him scare Roz and kind of cryptically talk to Varys and Cersei and kind of scheme a little bit. And everybody's like, oh, you can't trust him. I'm scared of him, blah, blah, blah. This is where we really see, okay, Littlefinger should not be ignored in this story.
Yeah, definitely not. Not.
I mean, he just comes out and he has all sorts of twisted things to say. When he talks about his chaos as a ladder and he says, some people cling to the realm, God's love, they're all illusions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could go back and you can see that, there are people in this very episode that are clinging to the illusions that he's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Sansa, as I mentioned, clinging to love, which is why she stayed behind, hoping to marry Loras instead of going with Littlefinger.
And Jon is clinging to his vows, right? I know that that's not the realm gods or love, but that's him clinging to, the vows that he's made as a Night's Watchman, that he's going to fulfill them for the realm. So, right? You can say that everybody has their own version of illusions that they are clinging to right now. And Littlefinger is so keenly and shrewdly aware of this, and he knows that if he throws a stink bomb in the middle of all of it, he can go basically unseen through it all. I mean, he's been able to he has Harrenhal in word
in title,
only, but in title, right? He has Harrenhal. He's betrothed to the Vale, which means he'll have the Knights of the Vale at his fingertips. Mm-hmm. And he most likely has a plan to get Sansa, which means that if that plan goes through, if it had gone through the way that he intended it to go through, he would have had, Harrenhal, the Vale, and the North.
Yeah, imagine that.
I can't, because it's too much.
Oh, man, I really liked that theory about Littlefinger faking his own death.
No, I don't like it. I told you I didn't like it. I told you I hated it.
Yeah. Just for the audience, for listeners who may not be aware, there's a theory that Littlefinger faked his own death, that the woman that he was talking with in Winterfell, passing notes and stuff back and forth with, there's one point where he hands her something and it glints, and people think that he handed her a coin of Bravos with an iron, the faceless man coin, basically. And so, in that case, the assumption is that this woman who is a faceless man in Winterfell, and Peter Baelish's family comes from Bravos too, so he may have connections to this type of thing. So this woman may be a faceless man. She may have put on Littlefinger's face, allowed herself to be killed, much as Jaqen killed himself instead of poisoning Arya. And for all we know, next year Sansa could be like bludgeoned from behind and brought down to her knees, and Arya could be wheeled out in stockade, and Littlefinger could walk out of the shadows and be like, I don't die so easily. That'd be fucking wild.
No. Baelish isn't from Bravos.
His grandfather immigrated from Bravos. Their old sigil was the Titan of Bravos, and he took the Mockingbird for his own sigil. So yeah, I mean, it was like in the past they're from Bravos, but yeah, he's not like immediately from Bravos.
I just don't think that the answer. While I think that this is a very creative theory.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Super creative.
I just don't think that we can just explain away everything with faceless man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Peter Baelish's reactions when he was being killed are like the legitimate reactions that Baelish would have had. So it would have been difficult for a faceless man, not only, I mean, it would be easy to switch the faces, but for this woman, if she is a faceless woman, for her to perfectly imitate Baelish's responses, the way he first tries to manipulate Sansa and then he tries to beg, and it's almost too perfect for it to be fake. I do think that it probably was Littlefinger, but I would welcome the surprise that it wasn't.
I think that we are going to see him again, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. If nothing else, his face will be worn.
Yes, yeah. But Arya will use it to get to Cersei.
Or something, yeah.
That's just always been kind of my weird theory, but I don't think that we're going to go through all of season 8 without seeing Aiden Gillen.
Yeah, I can't imagine it either. There's got to be some use. It would be just too much of a waste not to use that face for Arya.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
So, what do you have anything that you want to say about this scene?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think there's some cool stuff going on here.
Because I have I feel like I have a lot to say, but in conversation. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure that this will trigger some stuff.
Yeah. Good.
The conversation that they have starts out with Varys remarking about the Iron Throne, saying, 1,000 blades taken from the hands of Aegon's fallen enemies, forged in the fiery breath of Balerion the Dread. And Baelish comes in and shatters the illusion. There aren't 1,000 blades. There aren't 200. Even 200. I've counted. He's like, I'm sure you have, Peter. I'm sure you have. But it that sort of represents, when Baelish is saying that people cling to these things, gods or love or the realm. He's talking about Varys clinging to the concept of the realm. Varys says, I did what I did for the good of the realm, talking about his interactions with Raz. And Baelish is like, the realm is an illusion, you fucking idiot. The chair is an illusion. There aren't 1,000 blades. You bought into the illusion. All there is climbing the ladder for yourself. That's all there is propelling yourself. You need to worry about yourself. And that's what Baelish is all about, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't even see that what he's clinging to is the Iron Throne.
Baelish, right.
Yeah.
And people are often, blind to their own tics, you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense as well. He doesn't realize that he is in fact clinging to the throne as well. I guess the ladder that he's climbing leads to the throne, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess
he's clinging to it as a destination, sort of. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
So I thought that was kind of cool, just like that we see how Varys is ever consistent again, saying that he did what he did for the realm, and I just like that Baelish throws a wrench in that, telling him that the realm is an illusion. I just thought it was kind of cool. Lots of really neat little stuff happening in this scene, and every time I see it, all I can think about is bad lip reading, because in this scene, Peter Baelish is singing a song in bad lip reading. So funny, so fucking good, hilarious. I hate it when they give you a frame. A frame? Yeah, it's the best. Bad lip reading. I don't know. Anything else you got about that scene? I did want to bring that up. But
yeah, I think that we've talked about it kind of throughout, so that we're at the end here and we're like, well, I guess we could say this about it.
Oh, I think it's worth mentioning, just to wrap it up, that the montage and music, the way that this scene was cut, and the tension was built with the music was really, really good. Ramin Djawadi just killing it again here. And the montage that they created just was really, really poignant, the way that they pulled everything together.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I would definitely agree with that.
So that wraps up our number 1, right?
Yeah.
All right, so how about notes?
So
talk about the climb?
One particular note that I'd like to talk about is how stupid Theon is.
Sure.
So Theon is on a cross, which is the flayed man, the Bolton banner sigil, right?
Yep.
And Ramsay is flaying him.
Literally. So
literally
so
flaying him.
He wasn't paying
asking him,
attention.
do you know who I am? do you know where you are?
Yeah.
He was raised in the North. He was educated in the North. He knows this.
Yeah.
But he's so stupid and he's so one-dimensional that he does not realize that Ramsay is basically
telegraphing
telling him who he is.
He's telling him exactly who he is. Yeah, Theon must not have been paying attention to Maester Lewin during their heraldry lessons at Winterfell.
It just shows how
my God.
self-absorbed he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He doesn't see what's happening to him. I mean, the guy's peeling his skin off. He's flaying him.
Literally flaying him.
Yeah, and he's holding his bones, and it's like, dude, you're on a little cross, a little X thing, and somebody is peeling your skin off, and you still don't know where you are? Like, you kind of deserve this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of sympathy for Theon right now.
He did some shit that that puts him in line for this type of treatment.
Yeah.
I don't know this harsh necessarily, but he definitely deserved punishment for all the shit that he's done, all the lives he's destroyed.
Until he cuts off his penis, I think it's deserved.
Yeah.
You don't pretend to kill 2 little boys and take your childhood home and kill everybody around you and think that you're going to get away with that.
He did kill 2 little boys too, like it wasn't pretending.
So
yeah, he earned it.
I really liked Jon and Ygritte together. I think that Kit Harington and Rose Leslie just have an amazing chemistry together, especially when you know that they were together off screen. Because a lot of times when you're together off screen, the chemistry doesn't really translate very well on screen.
Oh, interesting.
So I really like the fact that their chemistry was so good on screen, despite the fact that they were together off screen.
Yeah, how messed up was that? They're climbing and like the wall cracks and all that ice falls, and Orell's like, we gotta cut him, and he starts cutting them and cutting the rope. And just
with the dullest blade in all of Westeros.
Yeah. Well, he is a wildling, right? They don't necessarily have castle forged steel.
I guess, but I mean, sharpen your knife once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. That's funny.
Did you notice that before they climbed and Ygritte said, "Don't betray me"?
Yeah.
That he didn't look at her.
Oh.
When he said that he wouldn't, he looked down. And he never met her eyes again when he said that he wouldn't betray her.
I didn't notice that. It's definitely foreshadowing him betraying her, though.
Yeah, poor Jon.
Poor both of them.
Yeah, I would have liked. Well, she wouldn't have fit into the mold now, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So.
Sometimes you gotta dump the small memories to make room for the big new memories. to quote Kenny Powers from Eastbound and Down, just so you guys don't think I'm fucked up. Because he's fucked up. He said it, not me. I'm just quoting.
When Jon and Ygritte got to the top of the wall, I kind of noticed that for the first time in their relationship, they're kind of on equal footing. They've got each of their own sides on either side of them, and they're at the top of this massive thing. And they're
very
just
symbolic.
Kind of, yeah. And I think that for the first time, they probably, at least Jon probably did feel like they were kind of in it together, that he was about to go into a land that she had never been, plus, and that she could learn from him.
Yeah, plus they just climbed the wall together. They got disconnected from the pack, and it was the 2 of them working together that finished
They almost died twice.
Yeah. I thought it was great, too. Like, just the view from top of the wall was gorgeous. Really, really beautiful view. It looked like money, which is something I like to say about Game of Thrones. Just looks like money. And I thought it was funny, too. Tyrion got to piss off the top of the world, and Jon got a kiss at the top of the world.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. It's amazing how green it was on the other side after all that
that's true.
snow.
That's true.
Like, we feel like we've been trudging in the snow with Jon for a while.
Yeah, real long time. And it's just another beautiful moment with no words spoken. You know, there's a few of these scenes where like they do a lot of stuff and there's no dialogue, and it's another one of those scenes at the end there. They don't say anything, but it's just so beautiful. And there's a couple hints in the music that Ramin throws in there, just like a couple notes that are a little dissident, and it creates sort of like a foreboding sense of the future, which which is it's a beautiful moment, but it's also really super sad, like knowing what's to come so soon between the two of them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's overshadowed by you know, a future that's never meant to be, essentially.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Super
that
sad.
makes me sad.
Yeah, I was sad watching it. And when Orell cuts the rope, if looks could kill, Jon glares at Orell.
Oh my god! And he knows he's dead.
Yeah,
man.
and Orell looks terrified. He looks nervous. At least.
He's like, "Oh, you're still here. Okay,
yeah,
cool."
That's fucking wild, man. Oh, there was a creepy line with Ramsay where he's like talking about how Theon's already told him everything. You know, and he's like, remember, your daddy was mean to you. The Starks didn't appreciate you. One good bit, though. The Stark boys, they're still alive. Wouldn't that be a hunt to remember? You failed, but I'm a better hunter than you. And I'm like, damn, that's fucked up. Oh,
he's the worst.
Theon, like, did basically, like, hunt them. You know, he took the hounds out. He was hunting them. So that Theon doing that sort of foreshadows the whole, like, hunting concept with Ramsay, which is wild. It's not the first time those Stark boys are going to be hunted.
That's true.
Let's see what else we got. Oh, he has his most prophetic line where it's George R.R. Martin stabbing us all in the heart and then the genitals. Where he says, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. And that's a message to us from George. Like, it's gotta be, you know, that's George R.R. Martin saying, brace yourselves, people, because the ending is gonna be bittersweet. You know?
Right.
Oh, so that was cool. I like that little line thrown in there. Meant a lot. And I thought it was just so twisted how Ramsay's just like, he's acting, he's playing along, and like, he's like, Theon's like, you're Torrhen Karstark. And he's like, how did you know? How did you know that? And like, we're at Carhold. Did you see any banners flying when we came in? And he's like messing with him, like really convincingly looking like, huh. You know? And he just throws it in his face. Wait, you didn't ask me if I'm a liar.
I know. Gosh, she's so crazy.
What a showman. And the scene culminates as, you know, as he's being flayed and he's like cutting his finger apart, basically. It culminates with Theon just yelling, please cut it off, cut it off, cut it off.
He's like, I win.
I win. Da, da, da. So twisted.
Oh my gosh, he's so crazy.
And it reminded me of this story that from my roommate up in Boston, one of my good friends, John Crawford, really amazing metal guitarist, and he's like, he went to music school, he went to medical school, he went to IT, he's like all around. He's got all kinds of experience, you know. And he went to a party up in Boston, out in Alston, I think, while we were up there, and he was hanging out with some chick, and he got wasted, and he shows up like. I'm in bed. I think it's like 4:00 in the morning, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. Someone is pounding on my door, like they're trying to kick my door in. And I get up and like open the door, and these guys, friends of mine, friends of John's, they're carrying John, like bringing him back to the apartment because he was so trashed. He drank like a whole 30 pack probably, but he wakes up the next day and he's got like red paint like smeared all over him, and his nipples hurt and his teeth hurt. And he's convinced himself that he is made out with this chick and she was like biting his nipples or something. But I know the truth, which is, it plays into the rest of what happened that night. He fell into a bathtub, face first, and like landed like teeth first basically into the bathtub. So I think that the rim of the bathtub hit him in the nipples, like as his face went into the tub, and his chest connected with the rim. And this cut it off with Theon. Apparently at the party, John was screaming, rip it out, rip it out, about his tooth from nailing it on the floor of the bathtub. So,
that's so bad.
I couldn't help but having that memory pop into my mind as Theon is yelling, cut it off, and I'm thinking, rip it out. Hey, John, I know you're not listening, but if you ever do.
But hey. The night is dark and full of terrors.
Yep, so that was funny. I also thought Edmure's reaction to the phrase saying, Rob's like, we'll do whatever we can to give Lord Frey what he needs. And they're like, not what? Whom? And Edmure's like, it's like he's like drinking like a sip of like tea or something. like, you know, like he like spits it out a little bit and what?
Right.
No.
It's like, no, we're not doing that. Sorry.
But Robb was very kingly by saying, like, when he finally does agree, he says, I'll marry her. And he says, you're paying for my sins, uncle. It's not fair or right. I'll remember it. You know, and like I thought that was very kingly, very proper for Robb to let him know that, like, how much it means and that it will not be forgotten. But when they were leading up to that moment, it's like Robb says, you said you wanted to make amends for the stone mill. And Blackfish has a beautiful line. You recall that heroic engagement?
I know. I love
Edmure's like, fuck, checkmate. I had something less permanent in mind to make up for it.
You're like, well, you know, we wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for you, so fuck off.
And Robb has a horrifying realization, too, which is, I've won every battle, but I'm losing the war. If we don't do this and do it now, we're lost. Like, it's it, you know? So he agrees to go through with the marriage, and there's funny is he's like, "How old is she? 19. Does she have all her teeth? You know, what do you want to know if she has all her teeth too? You want to look at her teeth?" And it reminded me of this this line: "Never look a gift horse in the mouth." You ever heard that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Where like if someone's giving you a gift as a horse in this case, you're not going to inspect it to make sure it's like the top notch horse that would win the prizes and be like a you know, like the best genetically. Like you're just going to say thank you because you're getting something that's going to help you. You know.
Right.
And I mean, in this case, it doesn't really apply, but looking her in the mouth, looking at her teeth, just sort of reminded me of that phrase, which is funny. Let's see, what else we got? Brienne had a little dose of reality when she was trying to... we didn't talk about that scene at all, when Brienne, Jaime, and Roose Bolton eat supper together. And Jaime's struggling to eat with one hand, which is hilariously sad. And Brienne's like, I'm charged with bringing Sir Jaime to... You're charged with abetting treason. And she's like, fuck. Oh, yeah. Right?
Kind of,
Brienne, thick as a castle wall.
I love Brienne.
Me too. She's great. She's just a wonderful, wonderful person. So that was cool. It's sad to see Jaime in the position he's in, and as Lord Bolton's telling him, like, I thought that you would, you know, learn not to overplay your hand at this point, you know. But he's like, as soon as as soon as you're well enough to travel, I will allow you to go to King's Landing as restitution for the mistakes my soldiers made. And you will swear to tell your father the truth, that I had nothing to do with your maiming. And he is in CYA mode. Absolutely. He's covering his ass. He's terrified of Tywin. He's far more scared of Tywin than he is of Robb, which
he is about to defect anyways.
Yeah,
so.
and that's because, I think, because he's so much more scared of the repercussions from Tywin than he is of Robb. Like, what's Robb? Nobody even takes Robb seriously anymore. His own mother doesn't follow his instructions. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he doesn't see Robb as like a serious person, I don't think, at this point, which makes it easy for him to turn on him, and especially considering that he may end up in Tywin's favor for returning his son to him in the best condition possible once it was in his capacity, you know? Mm-hmm. So super fucked up scene as we learn of Roose's, you know, angling here, and it's just crazy, man, right?
Yeah.
And we see Brienne in a dress, too, which is funny.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until I was like, I'm looking at the lines from the show here, and I see my men have finally found you something appropriate to wear, and I'm like, oh yeah, she was wearing a dress. That's great.
Poor Brienne.
Poor Brienne. Oh man, yeah, that covers it for my notes too.
All right.
Awesome.
Good episode.
Yeah, definitely. So stay with us, guys, and we'll be right back. we're back with some news and fun stuff, right?
Yeah. Couple of news items today before I ran screaming from the internet. Let me just tell you right now, don't go there if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, I feel
crazy
bad
place.
that happened. I feel bad that you got spoiled.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And it's only a maybe because the minute I saw a picture, I just closed it. Like as fast as I could. And
I bet that given last year, they're intentionally, putting out pictures and stuff of things that aren't going to happen.
I hope so.
I'm pretty convinced. I would, if I was them, I would put all kinds of disinformation out and muddy the well so much that it's impossible to tell what reality was. So there's no way that there could be spoilers.
That's what Walking Dead did.
Yeah.
For who Negan killed.
Exactly. Filmed everybody getting killed.
Filmed everybody dying.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, super cool. I like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So you want to take over or
sure.
Take it away?
This first article is from Westeros.org. It is called Jerome Flynn Whale Fundraiser. So to benefit whale and dolphin conservation, the leading charity to protect whales and dolphins around the world, Jerome Flynn will join a lucky winner on a trip to Iceland to tour various locations featured in Game of Thrones.
Jerome Flynn plays Bronn, just so you guys know.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I'm sorry. I assume people know this, and that's bad of me to do.
I always try to talk to everybody like they're dumb as hell. Sorry, guys.
I like that.
I'm just kidding.
So the fundraiser is hosted at Prizio. Prizio does, if you're not familiar with Prizio does a lot of really good charitable work with celebrities, and a lot of them, Benedict Cumberbatch has one going on right now. Lin-Manuel Miranda had one for a while about getting tickets to Hamilton. And there's another Hamilton one out that's right now. But this is Jerome Flynn's. This is Bronze of the Blackwater Bays, Prizio charitable donation thing. So
that's awesome.
Jerome's message to supporters explains the details. I want you to join me beyond the wall to get a sneak peek and visit famous filming locations from the series Beyond the Seven Kingdoms.
What?
I'll fly you and a friend to Iceland and take you on a tour of some of the most breathtaking Game of Thrones locations, including the Fist of the First Men and the mountain that looks like an arrowhead from Season 7. Your flights and hotel accommodation will be covered, and we'll even go on a private whale watching trip as one of the world's best whale watching spots, where you'll have the chance to see orcas, humpbacks, dolphins, and their sperm whales wild and free in their natural habitat. And better yet, if you spot an orca during the trip who doesn't yet have a name in the Icelandic orca catalog, you'll be able to choose a name for him or her, which will be used by the whale watchers and scientists forevermore.
So cool.
So it only takes a $10 minimum donation to enter to win this trip of a lifetime. Your donation supports whale and dolphin conservation's vital work protecting these amazing creatures from the many threats that they face. Thank you so much for your support. Can't wait to meet you in Iceland. The Whales and Dolphin Conservation's fundraiser ends on April 23rd. So my guess is that you can go to Prizio, or you can just Google this and you can find a way to enter if you'd like to donate and enter to win this really amazing looking trip.
Yeah, that's super cool. You guys all know I like Bronn and Jerome Flynn, so this just makes me even happier because I really love whales, and the populations have been in decline for a long time due to whaling operations, illegal whaling operations from out of Japan and stuff like that. So, I consider whales to be like basically some. I think, what is it, dolphins that have been classified as non-human persons. I believe that whales are the same type of thing. Like, I think it's fucked up to kill a whale. And I was real close to joining Sea Shepherd back in the day.
Nice.
Those are the guys that risk their lives to go ram Japanese whaling ships and stuff down in the Antarctic. They had the TV show Whale Wars for a while, which I really liked. I really wanted to do that, but it just didn't end up happening. But yeah, so anything to help whales and stuff like that is fucking awesome. So thanks, Jerome, for doing that. Hopefully we can make some good money and sink those whaling fleets for good.
Yeah, let us know if you decide to donate to this. That'd be nice to know how much of that comes from us.
Yeah, if you guys donate to it, let us know and we'll give you a shout out too, because it's fucking awesome. And we'd like if you guys would, if you donate, you deserve recognition for donating, you know? So that's cool. Our next item comes from IGN. Sean Bean reveals what Ned Stark was saying before he died. It's been several years since the world was traumatized by Game of Thrones killing off its presumed main character before the end of its first season, and now Sean Bean has finally revealed what Ned Stark was saying before his untimely end. And you mentioned this to me before, Kristen, and I've been anxiously awaiting to find out. So, over the years, a number of fan theories about Ned's final words have emerged. Some speculate he was communicating with his son Bran, interesting, while others thought he might have been delivering the fan-favorite phrase Valar Morghulis. That would be out of nowhere. That doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't think either of those theories make any sense. But it seems what he was saying was nothing more than a small prayer. That makes perfect sense. In an interview with the Huffington Post, Bean set the record straight. He's a straightener. He says, I just thought, what would you do if this were really going to happen? You'd probably pray. You'd probably murmur some words and you'd keep it quiet. You'd keep it to yourself. Bean then went on to explain that he believes there really was nothing more Ned could do at that moment. It's quite subtle in that many people wouldn't pick it up, Bean said. It was an interesting thing to do for me at that point. There's not much you can really do. You've got your head on the block. That's about the only thing you can do is murmur. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's a good way of conveying that he's realizes that the end is here and that he's trying to make peace and, do that.
Well, and he was such a devout man anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
He loved the going to the God's Wood.
Yeah, Kat would find him there regularly, polishing ice, the family heirloom.
And he was a man of honor and faith and belief. And of course he was praying.
Yeah, totally. Talking with Bran. He doesn't know Bran is fucking Bran yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he didn't have some weird vision in the last few moments of his life where he says, Valar Morghulis,
Yeah, right.
No.
No, that doesn't make any sense at all. Who came up with these theories? IGN. I'm disappointed with that. That's hilarious. So it continues. As for the theories about Ned possibly returning in the final season of the show, Bean has told fans not to count on it, as he has not been contacted by HBO, nor would he want the character to come back. It's worth noting that a younger version of the character, played by Robert Aramayo, appeared in...
Who looks exactly like Neil Patrick Harris, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I could see it a little bit. And I thought he did a phenomenal job recreating the Ned Stark character.
Yes,
appeared
absolutely.
In several notable flashback scenes in Season 7. No, they've never said that, Bean says, speaking about HBO contacting him for a possible return. And, yeah, I've heard rumors, but not from very good sources, that I might be back. But I think I've done my time there, and I created a good character. It'd be rather strange to see him resurrected. I agree. I think they should leave Ned where he is. Mm-hmm. It would be pointless to bring him back, really, aside from young Ned, which I thought was great. Really awesome. This is where it ends. I mean, I'm sure they could come up with some sort of flashback that would make... a Sean Bean cameo makes sense, but, fuck it. It would be cool. Fuck it. Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, but he's aged in the past 8 years. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, that's true. 8 years. That's funny. So, moving on. Our next item, we're mixing up a little and not doing the Game of Thrones as myth type thing again, but we are doing 7 historical parallels to Game of Thrones by from Mental Floss by writer Christian Bond. So there's some cool historical parallels here that I'd never heard mentioned on any podcasts before, so I thought we should talk about them.
All right.
Number 1, King Joffrey. Oh, and one of them had to do with Zoroastrianism, but I left that out so you wouldn't have to try to pronounce it.
I could have done it this week.
Oh, that's true. You could have. I still added it. I just thought it was funny. I was like, Zoroastrianism. I'm not going to fuck with that this week.
My mistakes.
I should have known. I know. I apologize. So, King Joffrey is Edward of Lancaster. As evil as he is, King Joffrey's vicious personality seems to be rooted in history. Edward of Lancaster was the son of King Henry VI and Margaret of Anjou, and like Joffrey, he was rumored to be of illegitimate birth. Did I mispronounce something there?
No,
Okay. I thought that sounded like you were going to say something.
I was yawning.
Okay. Also, like Joffrey, Edward had a touch of madness, and he shared Joffrey's affinity for lopping off the heads of his enemies. The ambassador of Milan once wrote, "This boy, though only 13 years of age, already talks of nothing but of cutting off heads or making war, as if he had everything in his hands, or was the god of battle or the peaceful occupant of that throne." History also gave Edward his comeuppance. He was stabbed to death by Edward IV of York, the real-life equivalent of Robb Stark. What?
Gosh,
So
that
that's
would have been
cool.
awesome.
That's sort of like maybe an allusion to this line by Sansa. Maybe Robb will deliver me your head on a platter.
That'd be great.
And apparently in real life, that's what happened. Cool.
Number 2. Theon Greyjoy is George... I hate you.
I didn't even realize it was an accident. I'm looking at it now like, what the fuck is that?
Plantagenet.
Oh, wow, that's probably right.
Oh, wow. Kristen knows how to read.
I mean, no. Oh, wow, like I had no idea how to pronounce that, so that was a shocker to me.
The first Duke of Clarence. This is why he gave me number 2. Theon grew up in Winterfell as a ward to Lord Eddard Stark and a surrogate brother to Robb. Following the outbreak of the War of the Five Kings, Theon was one of Robb's most trusted advisors. After Robb sent Theon to meet with his father, Balon Greyjoy, Theon turned on his friend and invaded the north like a douche.
Like a major douche.
Theon's historical counterpart, George Plantagenet, was brother to Edward IV of York, and, like Theon, began the War of the Roses as a staunch York defender.
Wow.
Much like Theon, George Plantagenet turned on his brother during the War of the Roses and defected to the Lancasters like an idiot.
Yep.
After Edward won the war, George was drowned in a butt of wine for his treason, which is a much kinder punishment than the many atrocities that Theon has endured.
And just for you guys listening, a butt is like 147 gallons. So it's the equivalent of a barrel of wine.
But
I like that they called it a butt, though. That's cool. Butt.
my son would be very excited. His favorite word right now is
Nice.
butt.
That's a good word. What can you can't argue with that.
I know.
Number 4. We're skipping some numbers here so we don't read the whole article.
All right.
Number 4 is Jaime Lannister as Gottfried von Berlichingen. Berlichingen?
Berlichingen.
What's that? What's our German
I don't
listener that I mispronounced her name?
Oh, yeah.
Hannah Kindler. I bet you can give me a pronunciation on this. So let me know if you get a chance. In Game of Thrones Season 4 premiere, Jaime Lannister received a shiny new gold hand to replace one that was hacked off. The Kingslayer, however, follows in the footsteps of Gottfried von Berlichingen, or, as he was known, Gotts of the Iron Hand.
Perfect.
Yeah, Gotts, he got an iron hand.
Yeah, he did.
Like Jaime, Gotts was born to a noble family before serving as an imperial knight. During battle, Gott's hand was blown off by a cannon. What? Damn. Not easily deterred, Gotts designed a prosthetic iron hand and returned to combat.
Wow.
That is fucking awesome. He's well known for his catchphrase, kann mich am Arsch lecken, which translates as he can lick my arse. Which
It kind of
also
sounds like that.
yeah. English is a Germanic language, so there are very many similarities between German and English. It's like a sort of a mix of Germanic and Romantic languages. So you get the German roots and the Roman roots.
Just always sound angry.
Yeah, the German definitely comes across. It's very abrasive, It's beautiful in its own way, though. So he can lick my arse. That also makes him a precursor to Futurama's Bender.
Oof.
Which is also one of my favorite
I used to watch
voice
a lot of
actors.
Futurama.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was back in my stoner days in San Francisco.
The guy who plays Bender also plays Marcus Phoenix in in Gears of War.
Ah.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite voice actors. I can't remember his name right now, but he's fucking cool, man. He's good.
Number 6, the Battle of Blackwater Bay is the second Arab siege of Constantinople. Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Did you ever hear that song?
I think I've heard...
They Might Be Giants?
Bits. What was it?
Isn't that it? They Might Be Giants? Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I was thinking of something else.
Oh, you should listen to it then.
All right.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
That's funny. Tongue twister.
Oh, that showed my age. The Battle of Blackwater Bay, when Stannis Baratheon attempted to siege the capital of King's Landing, was the focus of the penultimate episode of Season 2. Stannis was defeated after Tyrion attacked his navy with wildfire, a chemical that burns on water. Tyrion might have gotten this idea from the second Arab siege of Constantinople, where Greek fire, which Duncan has talked about, a similar substance was used to repel invaders.
So you guys, for book readers, there's also, I'm not going to say what part of the books this comes from. It's from this list, from this article, but we've excluded it so you guys don't know, so that the show watchers aren't spoiled by it. But there is,
if you're reading the book,
if you're a book reader, you should wiki the Great Chain of Constantinople, the Great Chain, CHIAIN, and you'll recognize where that influence comes into play in A Song of Ice and Fire as well. So that's pretty cool. The Great Chain of Constantinople. Constantinople. Yeah, check that out.
Istanbul was Constantinople. Not Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out.
Cool article, bro.
Thanks. Yeah, I just searched Game of Thrones real history.
It's a great article.
Yeah, I like including stuff like that, Gives an element of like realism to the podcast that is cool, and like sort of like an illustrating the level of sophistication of the writing,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Matthew Rep. Which climb do you find more treacherous? The wildlings climbing the wall, or Littlefinger climbing the ladder of chaos? Melisandre seems to know Arya's future as a faceless man, and even her blindness. I see a darkness in you, and in that darkness, eyes staring back at me. Brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes sealed shut forever. We will meet again. I can't believe Theon, after being raised in the North, still doesn't know who his captor is, even after Ramsay literally starts flaying him alive.
Yes!
Yeah, I didn't even really pick up on that. So yeah, you guys are freaking cool, man. You guys are next level. If he thought that horn was bad behind the gates of Winterfell, it can't be much better right in your face.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Ugh.
Brandon Ushery Hill says, Season 3 is the forgotten season. Red Wedding makes you want to skip it. No, man, Season 3 is Book 3, and Book 3 is the best.
But I definitely can understand how some people could definitely want to skip it just because of the Red Wedding. Too traumatic to embroil yourself in the whole season psychology.
I have a funny story about that is, my husband and I, we read the books. We would read a book and then watch a season, read a book, watch a season. That's how
cool.
we did it.
That's neat.
And so when we got up to the Red Wedding episode and we knew what was next, we stopped watching it for a long time. Like, we were like, no, I don't want to watch the next episode. And so I think we picked up Sons of Anarchy or something. Like, we picked up something really random and stuck with that for a while. And so he's like, hey, did you guys ever catch up on Game of Thrones? And we're like, no.
Until the trauma receded and then you were able to start again.
Yeah, we had a really tough time with proceeding.
It is pretty brutal.
Because we just didn't want it to happen again.
Yeah.
And the book, Hail Hydra, the book is just,
Hail Hydra.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So,
anyways. They're both brutal.
I thought that was funny.
They both have their own, particularly brutal elements that the other one doesn't have, So if you want the full picture of brutality, you got to read the books and watch the show. It's fucked up.
Do it.
Alicia Stout. I was going to comment on that very same scene between Arya and Melisandre. I see a darkness in you, etc. Yes, such foreshadowing of the faceless men in the House of Black and White. Piggybacking on my earlier resurrection comment this week, do you think the Hound has the capability to resurrect? When he fell off the cliff after fighting with Brienne in Season 4, Arya left him for dead. Did he actually die? If so, could he have come back to life? A possibility? It's possible. We don't really have an explanation on the show, I don't think. There's more details in the books, though, if you want to read them. In season
Hydra.
In season 6, when Brother Ray finds the Hound, he says to him, "Now I reckoned you were going to die a dozen times over the next few days, but you didn't. What kept you going? Hate. No, there's a reason you're still here. Aye, there's a reason. I'm a big fucker and I'm too tough to kill. No, a reason. The gods aren't done with you yet. We also know he has the power to see a vision in the flames, and we know he's scared of fire, but perhaps there's something more to all of this? Could he be or become a Red Priest? Your thoughts? What do you think, Kay?
I don't think so.
Sorry.
I think that he might have the power or the ability to see what's in the flames. But when you think about it, he saw what was in the flames because Thoros told him to look into the flames, much like when Stannis saw into the flames, Melisandre told him to look into the flames.
Yeah.
So, there is a possibility that he was seeing what Thoros wanted him to see. But at the same...
Or that Red Priests have the ability to share their visions when someone else is looking into the flames with them.
But at the same time, there is a theory out there that the reason why the Hound was burned so badly was because maybe he was seeing into the flames and his brother pushed him in or didn't like it, that he had a power or something like that.
That's interesting. I've never heard that.
Oh, you haven't?
No, that's new.
I thought you had. I think that if we're going to find it out, we'll probably find it out in season 8, but it could go either way.
Yeah, that's
I don't think he's a Red Priest, though.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that I sort of think that Red Priests can show people visions in the flames. Like maybe they provide the missing piece just in their presence that is needed. Because he doesn't really tell Sandor what to see either. He's like, "What do you see?" And Sandor's like, "Snow. I see ice, a wall, the wall." It's like sort of he didn't really lead him. He just saw what he saw. And it just happened to be what Thoros was seeing as well. So I don't think that the Hound is necessarily a priest, but I think that he is like one of the chosen figures in the Lord of Lights game, you could say, on this chess game. I think that the Hound is one of the pieces, just not a priestly piece. Same as Jon Snow. Like Jon Snow's not like a priest, but he's definitely a piece on that board. I do think that the Hound it's possible he is resurrected already, although I don't really think he was, but I do think that he will be resurrected. So I think that we will see that happen if it hasn't happened already. So that's pretty much what I think. I think that he has a connection to the Lord of Light, but I don't think he's going to be a priest per se, but he will be an important figure.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Nice. Thanks, Lady Alicia.
Yeah, that was great.
Now we have an email from a traveler of the Middling Roads, a citizen of Macumber's Blue Eye. Hi, guys. Thanks for reading my email. In the Dawn Ages of Westeros... All right, so this is a little bit book spoilery, but not really spoilery. It's more like history type stuff. So he says, in the Dawn Ages of Westeros, there is a particularly romantic story from the Stormlands, and that is between Durin Godsgrief and the daughter of the god of the seas and goddess of the winds. Her name was Elenai, and she fell in love with Durin and offered her maidenhead to him, even though the result would be that she would become mortal. He married her. The sea god grew angry and destroyed the castle that the wedding party was held in, and all the wedding guests were killed. Sounds kind of like the Red Wedding. Except Durin, who was protected by Elenai's magic. So Durin Godsgrief vowed to rebuild the castle for Elenai, stronger than the last one. When that castle was finished, the gods destroyed it 6 times over until he built Storm's End on the 7th attempt, a castle that the gods could not ravage as it was built strong and protected by Olenna's magic. And if I remember correctly, the barrier walls at Storm's End are 100 feet thick. Like, it's really built tough. So Brandon the Build, protected by Olenna's magic from the Children of the Forest, and Brandon the Builder's technical expertise. Imagine the love he felt to rebuild all of those castles within his lifetime. Most lords only build one. If that, most lords inherit a castle. So only even the rare lord gets to build one castle. So it's crazy to build
it's like
7.
The Taj Mahal.
So this is a Stormland story about the foundation of House Durrandon, and the seat of the Storm's End. Podrick Payne's house hails from the Westerlands and sworn fealty to House Lannister. How can they be connected? The answer is 10,000 years, much like the mathematical formulation of R plus L equals J, or A, if you want to think of him as Aegon. Durin Godsgrief plus Elenai plus 10,000 years equals Podrick Payne. So, this guy, Durin Godsgrief, essentially was so awesome and such a good lover that he convinced a goddess to turn mortal to be with him, much in the same way that Podrick Payne convinced whores to fuck for free, essentially.
Wow.
So that's a fucking craziness. Like, I'm like impressed that you pulled that together, man. That's some deep digging right there, but it makes sense. So that's really cool. He says, if we're allowed to pursue the lineages and histories of the great houses of the 7 kingdoms, Grand Maester Pycelle would say it is quite a ponderous tome. It would show the intermarriages of the different houses, the Stormlands to the Riverlands to the Westerlands, and how all of the houses have mixed blood. So over time, Elenai, who is a creature of magic, her blood flows through Podrick Payne's heart. In a time of magical energies on the incline, Podrick has no control over his supernatural ability, aeromancy, or love magic. Much the same way a mystical satyr or siren tempts sailors with their beautiful voices. When Podrick is attracted to someone, they magically become attracted to him to their own detriment. If he does not find them attracted, they are not affected. Those girls at the brothel who didn't take the coins for the time spent with Podrick will be beaten. They will be given unsavory clients or worse for, not receiving their payments. Especially with Littlefinger, he probably had him killed.
Probably.
Depending on his lack of control, their love for Podrick could soon turn into grief when he does not return. In Grimm's writing, he sometimes saddles characters with attributes or abilities that do not fully suit them. For instance, a woman who is a warrior with a gallant heart and a fierce will to win is socially unacceptable. Or a powerful man creating a dynasty for his children who are incestuous, or one he despises. The greatest swordsman in the world loses his hand. On and on. Podrick only wants to serve. He is content in a life of service despite his very, very special ability. A traveler of the Midland Roads, a citizen of Macumber's Blue Eye. Thanks for the message. That was very interesting.
It was creative.
Yeah, for sure. Love it.
The next one is from Lady Caroline of House Collins. Hi, Duncan, Lady K. I love this rewatch because I kept thinking of memorable scenes as we discussed season 7. And maybe it's just the pivotal point in the series, but I feel like every scene is memorable in these past few episodes. We're really getting into the meat of the characters, although I'd rather not see their literal meat, if you know what I mean. Theon. This really is the episode of dynamic duos. Many of the pairs that are working together were opposing not too long ago, but for a short time. They have the same goal and are forced together. My first thought was Jaime and Brienne, but we also have Meera and Osha uniting to feed the useless green seers, and Jon and Ygritte uniting against the wall, Oral and Gravity. And Jon and Ygritte uniting against the wall, Oral and Gravity. Also, we see Thoros and Melisandre uniting against the darkness, Tyrion and Cersei united in their misery, and Sansa and Loras blissfully ignorant of just about everything. I'd say Tywin and Olenna, but that's more a skirmish of words than an alliance. It's just an amazing scene by 2 incredible actors. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bran making a Dreamcatcher 7-pointed star thingy like Catelyn made for him when he fell? I've forgotten what they're called. I wonder why she's making it. why he's making it.
Interesting.
It's interesting to see Roose Bolton's personality. I could see where Ramsay gets his sick sense of humor, although Roose only lets it show a little. He seems to be making jokes purely for his own amusement. Last week, he toyed with Jaime about the attack on King's Landing and Cersei's fate. Now he's making clever japes about Jaime overplaying his position. I absolutely love Jaime and Brienne in this scene. He calls her my lady, and as he presumes, they will be hitting the road together, and when she grabs a dinner knife, as Roose Bolton basically takes her hostage, Jaime takes her hand. I did like that part. He did it without looking, too, which I thought was great. It shows that they've become very familiar with each other.
Oh, wow, I didn't even notice that. I was probably taking notes. It's really, really cool. The
camera angle shifts behind Roose, and it looks as though they're sitting at the table hand in hand like a couple.
Wow.
I was struck by Varys' face when he was looking at the Iron Throne talking to Littlefinger. He says it's an ugly thing, but is he talking about the throne or about the monarchy? No, he was...
Ooh, I love that.
He was talking about Lysa Arryn. I did want to address the conversation last week about shadows from Lady Rachel's amazing interpretation of the song from the credits. Melisandre talks about shadows in the books, and although she is a character with questionable morals, she's pretty clear that the shadows are not the same as darkness. They're the servants of light, and since they cannot exist without light, they are on the side of R'hllor. I agree with Rachel about the shadows in the tent and the shadow babies, but I don't think Dunk's right about it being a reference to the White Walkers. They're the bringers of the darkness. I know all this stuff is just interpretation, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and maybe other listeners' thoughts too. I think that's enough for this week. Happy St. Patrick's Day from Boston. Thanks, Lady Caroline Collins, writer of Minuscule Massachusetts Mountains, paddler of the Lime Green Fury, chaser of monkeys, and yielder of the remote control.
Damn. Thanks, Lady Caroline.
That was a great email, Caroline. Thank you.
Caroline, like Arbor Wine. Did I say it was a reference to the White Walkers? I don't remember that.
Probably.
I think it was a reference to the shadow demons when during Khal Drogo's attempted healing. But I'll take your word for it, Lady Caroline. Next, we have an email from Archmaester Rennie. Greetings, illustrious podcasters. Well met. First, a bit of information. First, a bit of information related to something that came up in last week's Raven Calls, and I checked this in the Citadel Library to make sure of it. Thank you. Seawater does freeze. It just freezes at a lower temperature than fresh water. I'd tell you how many degrees lower, but we haven't invented thermometers yet here at the Citadel. All our prototypes were melted by trying to measure the temperature of dragonfire, which is why we hate dragons so much.
Oh my gosh, I
love this. A couple of notes on the episode, and thank you for looking into that. That's really cool. Yeah, I bet it's got to be pretty cold for it to freeze, because that's one of the ways they use. They make ice cream is by using salt water to use to like freeze it, get it down below freezing temperature or something. A couple of notes on the episode. Thoros says he knelt beside Beric's cold body the first time he revived them, so evidently Beric was dead for some time before he was revived. Good point. Maybe not as long as Jon Snow, but long enough for his corpse to get cold. That is a really good point. I wonder how long that would take. Damn, maybe it only takes like 10 minutes. Jeez, that's morbid. Who knows? I mean, as soon as your heart stops beating, there's nothing, like your biological processes stop. There's nothing keeping your body warm, right?
Yeah, but if you're frozen, it can protect the brain.
Oh, yeah, theoretically. If you can figure out how to unfreeze it without it turning to mush.
Yeah, I mean, there's, yeah.
Ramsay Snow says to Theon, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. I think that observation is prophetic for the whole series. You and me both. There's a commentary track on the DVD with the three Stark kids, Bran, Sansa, and Arya, who were still really young back when they recorded it, ages 13 to 16. All three kids go, ew, during the Theon torture scene. We all did.
Yeah. We all did.
Which is really the perfect soundtrack for that scene. During the negotiating Edmure's wedding scene, Sophie Turner says, that's the thing about the Game of Thrones. You just can't win. Maisie Williams says, you win or you die, so you might as well die. From the mouths of babes, yours devotedly, Archmaester Rennie. And that's twice talking about the mouths of babes this episode, too. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Archmaester. Always great to hear from you.
Definitely. I agree. The next one is from Old Man Fezziwig of House Curmudgeon. Duncan and Kristen. Old Man Fezziwig of House Curmudgeon here. As always, love this show. Before I get into it, I have to share my concern for you guys. For several shows in a row now, you've crossed the 3-hour mark. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, as I could listen to you all day, but we need you guys. Don't wear yourselves out too much. Dude, I'm trying to get us below 3 hours. I promise I am.
It's hard. It's hard. It really is.
We have a lot of emails, and a lot of them are long.
And there's just always so much to talk about.
Yeah, and there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. So, we try to get in everything that we can. And look, if I could have it be 2 to 2.5 hours, my husband would be excited. I would be excited. We'll see what we can do.
I'd probably have to do 5 hours less of editing just for that one last hour. So
see, there you go.
But like we said, it's hard to do that. At least it has become hard.
Yeah. And on to the climb. I'm sure you guys will touch on the pure goodness that is Tywin's scene with Lady Olenna.
You know it.
Tywin is just awful, but you've got to give the good old dude credit. He sure can cook up and then serve his schemes to the best of them. It's pretty difficult to outmaneuver the Queen of Thorns.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I'm not a big fan of heights, and my kids got me on this big-ass TV, so when Jon looks down during his climb, I almost lost my cookie. I forgot how nerve-wracking that scene was. Yeah, I agree. I'm not big on heights either. Chaos is a ladder. Watch it, Littlefinger. Bran is listening from the future. Also, screw you and your special experience that you gave to Joffrey. Poor Raz. I noticed that Varys was pretty emotionless when Littlefinger told him that he was forced to do it with his bad investment. I guess Varys is playing his cards close to the vest here and couldn't show remorse for Ross. See, yeah. I thought he looked horrified at it.
I did too. I thought he looked pretty horrified, but it was like a blank, shocked look. It wasn't like a, oh my God, it's so sad look. So I can understand that.
With that, I'll say Fezziwig out.
Next, we have an email from Lord Tom of the Misty Moor. Hey, Duncan K. Yeah, what's up, dude? There's not enough hours in the day. Sorry if this makes no sense. I'm rushing to get it to you in time for the recording. On my third watch of the climb, I was struck by Littlefinger's speech at the end. I noticed how there are similar character group structures throughout the episode which mirror each other. If we look at the ladder as a hierarchy, you can spot this pattern. 1. The person at the top of the ladder, an experienced leader/climber, be it social or literal. Tywin, Tormund, Bran. 2. Below them, you have someone associated with animals. Littlefinger, Mockingbird. Orell, Eagle. Osha, Rabbits, Game. This person is a loyal servant of number 1, but maybe more interested in self-serving individualism rather than collectivism. They want to do harm to those below them on the ladder. 3. Next, you have a girl, kissed by fire, red hair, who is sacrificed or cut loose by number 2 in order to protect harm coming to them, as well as to hurt number 4. These are Raz, Ygritte, and Sansa. 4. At the bottom, you have someone who has collectivist views and a secret identity. Varys, Jon, and Tyrion. They are trodden on by those above them and share a personal like with number 3. I hope you can agree and expand on this during Raven's calls. That's a very interesting take. I'm going to need to read that a couple times to really get my good grasp of that. But yeah, Littlefinger is definitely all about individualism, but he takes it to the extreme where he doesn't care about other people at all, And then Varys is all about collectivism, but he doesn't really trod on the individual necessarily in the process of working for the throne. He seems to want to generally protect everybody within the collective. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a really interesting way to look at that type of stuff. And it's crazy figuring out that people are related with animals that are number 2 and these kissed by fire for number 3. Just bizarre connections that you picked out here. So that's pretty cool. What do you think about that, Kay?
No, I like it. I agree that I'm going to have to look through this a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going to need to spend some time with that. Thank you. Oh, so lots of love, Tom of the Misty Moor. Thanks, Tom. Always great to hear from you, buddy. Check him out on Etsy, too. Tom Moore.
Yes. And our last email is from Rachel of House Fox. Hey, Lady Kristen and Lord Sterling. I hope you both have a great week. Here are my ramblings for Season 3, Episode 6, The Climb. One of my favorite quotes occurs at the end of this episode, so I'll just start there. Chaos isn't a pit, it's a ladder. Many who climb it fail and never get to try again. The fall breaks them, and some are given a chance to climb. They refuse. They cling to the realm, the gods, or love, illusions. Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is. I looked at which characters appeared in this episode and tried to tack them into Littlefinger's quote as an example of the climb. Oh, I did the same thing. Yay.
Nice.
As Littlefinger is telling the Varys, we get an image of Roz dead in Joffrey's chambers. Roz, throughout the series, has taken a chance to climb the ranks. She starts as a whore in Winterfell, makes it all the way up to one of Littlefinger's girls. She's an example of a climb, failing, and never getting back up to try again.
Damn.
Varys is one character who has climbed a long way from his meager beginnings. He knows how to play the game for the benefit of the realm. While he's always careful with each step he takes, he refuses to do certain things that Littlefinger would do in order to protect the realm. He clings to the realm's well-being over his own ascension.
Boom.
Lady Melisandre is another example of someone who started from meager means and has climbed her way up into a powerful position as the priestess for the Lord of Light. She clings so hard to her god, she is willing to do unimaginable sacrifices in order to please her god. Sansa has always been a character that believes in love and illusions. Illusions. At this point in the series, she refuses to play the game because she clings to the illusion that the world is going the way the songs depict it. Perfect, dreamy, and beautiful. She clings to her love for Loras so much that she can't even see that he is clearly gay. Green and gold Baroque, anyone?
Oh, that line was too much. It's just like so over the top.
I know.
Boy, that is great.
The actual climbing of the wall by Jon and the Wildlings is a visual representation of Littlefinger's quote. I love the shot where the camera pans out and we see them climbing the wall. They look like little ladders, which I found to be very clever. They are tied to one another, and this is also very telling because while the success of their climb is theirs alone, if someone you are tied to falls, you are in danger of falling yourself. Ygritte pitches her axe into the wall and causes the crack, which then creates a giant pit. She and Jon are dangling out over the pit when Oral starts cutting them loose. I felt this was the epitome of the visual representation of Littlefinger's quote.
Oh, nice.
Jon and Ygritte are in fact cut loose just as Jon grabs a hold of the wall and once again start their own ascension towards the top. The climb is all there is. It's all about survival. Sink your metal deep before taking your next step. I feel when Tormund says this, it relates to Littlefinger's patience and how he takes calculated risks.
Nice.
He only takes risk when there is a possibility of reward.
Yeah.
Although I have a ton more notes on this episode, I think this is a good place to stop. Otherwise, I'll be writing a short novel on this episode. From Brienne's hideous pink dress to Tywin and Olenna with their game of words to Melisandre telling Arya we will meet again, this episode is full of foreshadowing and hidden meanings. God, I love this show. 7 blessings, Lady Rachel of House Fox, titles.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
That was fantastic.
Very well articulated.
Yes. Good job. Thank you, Rachel.
Guys, Season 3, Episode 1 of Sirenicide came out this week featuring me as Malik Husto, so go and check that out. Go to sirenicide.com or download Sirenicide at any place where you download your podcasts regularly. It's a lot of fun, so check it out. And you're going to want to start from the beginning to get caught up so you'll understand the context too. But I think you guys will really enjoy it, so please go check it out. Shout out to Johnny Stitches and the whole team. Love you guys. It's awesome, and can't wait to see what happens. Enjoy, everybody. All right, that's our show, episode 68. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
What? Damn, like, how? So you've been on this show for what, more than 20 episodes now, something like that? Or
I think so, yeah.
16 since you joined full time? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's so good. Yeah, I
think I did 3 or 4 in season 1, and then I started season 2. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I've been going since before Thanksgiving.
I really think that this show's like next level with the addition of Lady K to the squad.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that tends to be the general perception, huh?
I think we make a good team, Sir Dunk.
I agree. So, next episode, we'll be covering Season 3, Episode 7. The Bear and the Maiden Fair. The bear, the maiden fair.
And we won't be covering it next week. Next week, I do have a scheduling conflict, and I cannot record at all. So we will be coming back to you in 2 weeks, and I hope that you guys are patient with us, and I appreciate your patience.
Yep, and maybe we'll come up with something to air in the meantime.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you guys get a chance, no rush, because we got 2 weeks this time. Check out The Bear and the Maiden Fair, Season 3, Episode 7, and give it a watch. Send us your thoughts. Send us some voicemails. We love voicemails, really. Record it on your iPhone or whatever you got. Email it to game@podcastica.com, and that's the way that your voice will sound the best on our podcast. We like you to sound good if we can, so...
And it'll give our voices a little rest.
Yeah, that too. Feel free to send us all kinds of stuff.
And if you're from Germany, you should send us stuff about German with, our article.
Oh, yeah.
Above. I'd like to know how some of this stuff is pronounced.
Yeah, that would be a big help. Thanks in advance, Hannah Kindler. And no pressure, Hannah. I'm not. If you don't have time, don't worry about it. But if you guys would like to call us, you can always reach us at 813-563-3739. That's 813-JOFFREY.
If you'd like to write in, you can email us at game@podcastica.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOM podcast.
Ibslap. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at GOM Podcast.
And if you guys don't mind, we'd really appreciate it if you give us a like on Facebook and an iTunes review. That would be amazing. So thank you in advance, and that will help propel us on the search results into the stratosphere of Game of Thrones podcast excellence.
And give us a like on or a follow on Twitter and Instagram too.
Yeah.
Do that.
Definitely do that.
Be sure to check out the other great podcasts at podcastica.com. We have right now Ash vs. Evil Dead. That's happening right now.
I always forget.
I hear that that's a great show. You will not catch me watching it, but I hear that that is a fantastic show. So
yeah, and Walking Dead is on again, as you guys know, so definitely check out the Walking Dead cast.
And it's a really good season.
Yeah, it's been really good, and obviously Jason and Karen and crew are the best for covering Walking Dead, so don't miss out anything with Jason when you get a chance. He does Ash vs. Evil Dead cast too, so yeah, definitely. Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up, I think. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Cersei.
The Mountain.
The Night King.
Euron Greyjoy.
Alicia Stout.
Have you ever seen Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I love that show.
The way you just said that, I thought of Chris Traeger. Literally.
There are literally
100,000 titles.
200,000 titles. Literally. They're literally the best.
They're the best books in the world. You should go get one.
That's the first time I've been compared to him. I usually get Ron Swanson.
I know. I told Dave today, I go, Duncan's being very Ron Swanson today.
Oh, yeah. Ron is like modeled after me. And this is Microphone of Games, episode
Perfect.
68. She's like,
She's
fucking
like,
told
I
you.
know, bitch.
It's torture. It's
torture time. Ooh, it's torture time.
Oh, we were talking about how, her hopes keep getting brought up and she keeps getting destroyed, you know? Like, it's the same thing. Like, she's going to King's Landing, she's so excited, and then no, her father gets fucking beheaded right in front of her. She's then supposed to be married to Loras, and she's, like, over the moon about that, and then, like, no, ripped out from under her, plus he's gay, so sorry. And then she, like, gets returned to Winterfell, and she's like, oh my god, I'm finally home, like, Winterfell. And then, nope, she's, like, brutally raped and tortured by a sadist.
Yay.
Let's see, what else we got?